Chapter 585. In the pagoda, everything was normal. Although outside, the demon mountain suppressed the entire world, and even the Linglong pagoda was bound in the demon mountain, unable to move, let alone penetrate the void, which was equivalent to being completely imprisoned under the demon mountain. However, it was only the outside that was imprisoned. It had no effect on the inside of the pagoda. The time and space in the pagoda still operated freely. Time reversed 10 times, 50 times, 100 times, 100 times, 150 times. The 4 layers of heaven and earth operated as usual, and were not even affected by the demon mountain's imprisonment. In the pagoda, in the first layer of heaven, there were a total of 30 million spirit beasts. Each of them desperately absorbed the power of heaven and earth, and worked hard to promote to demon beasts. These spirit beasts were all ordinary races that migrated from the sky demon secret realm, plus the birds and beasts of the southern barbarian. Together, they obtained these 30 million spirit beasts. As soon as they were promoted to demon beasts, they would be sent to the Jade Pool and forced to transform. They would officially step onto the path of demon cultivation. In the second layer of heaven, it was the place where demon beasts cultivated. Time reversed 50 times. They were also working hard, not wasting any time to absorb the power of heaven and earth. They strived to condense their own inner core. Here, although most of them had transformed into human form, they had not condensed their inner core. There were a total of 10 million such demons. In the third layer of heaven, there were demons who had condensed their inner core. There were also 10 million of them. They were not cultivating. Instead, they were walking around nervously. They were carrying all kinds of things in their hands. The magnificent demon ancient city suppressed the center. In the ancient city, millions of monster clan members were like ants, moving things one by one to every corner of the ancient city. A large number of divine crystals were quickly placed in the necessary places, covering the embryonic membrane of the ancient city. The divine crystals merged with the embryonic membrane, and the ancient city slowly emerged from the illusory world, becoming a real thing. It was continuous, almost without a moment of rest. The entire demon race was doing their best to dedicate all their strength to the ancient city in front of them. Looking at the ancient city, the divine crystals on the ground had already covered nearly half of the ancient city. The ancient and mysterious color rendered the ancient city incomparably magical. On the divine crystals, countless lines crisscrossed, interweaving into pictures that contained the truth. Di Shitian entered the third layer of heaven. He stood in the air above the demon city. It was as if the ground had been leveled. He wore a cold black robe and his black hair danced in the wind. His face was dignified without being angry. Just by standing there casually, the majesty of an emperor was instantly revealed. He swept his gaze across the ancient city. Within the city, all the monsters were silent. She looked at him quietly. "Ladies and gentlemen," Di Shitian said in a deep voice, "we demon folk are born and nurtured by the heavens, and all living things are free to compete in the heavens. Fighting against the heavens, fighting against the earth, breaking free from the shadows of thousands of living beings." In ancient times, they were revered as the overlords of heaven and earth. Although there were hundreds of races living together, they had supreme status. What do you rely on? Never give up. Old Fox's eyes lit up, and he immediately yelled at the top of his voice. Never give up. Never stop striving for self-improvement. Never stop striving for self-improvement. At the same time, the group of demons also began to chant fanatically. There seemed to be a kind of magic in those words that made them feel as if they had personally witnessed the glory of the monster clan in ancient times. The position of supreme overlord. With a single order, no one dared to disobey. He was very proud of his identity. The heavens move vigorously, and the noblemen strive for self-improvement. The demon clan should have the will to constantly strive for self-improvement. Fighting against the heavens, fighting against the earth, and fighting against our lives. Even if we die, we will die standing. We will never live kneeling. Di Shitian looked at the void with a deep gaze and said proudly, "Now, the demon god clan is suppressing me with the 5-finger demon mountain. They want to imprison me and wait for 500 years before I stretch out my neck and commit suicide. I, Di Shitian, am not a person who will sit and wait for death to come. I want to break the demon mountain, I want to slaughter thousands of demon gods, I want to wash away my shame with the blood of demons. My sons and daughters, do you have the courage to fight side by side with me? Di Shitian's voice went from low to high, and it became louder and louder, more and more excited. At the end of his words, it turned into a roar that shook the heavens. This roar could shake one's soul. The group of demons couldn't help but feel their blood boil. They were all fanatical to the extreme. I am willing to use my blood to cast your majesty's supreme majesty. The chorus of shouts gave the entire demon city an indescribable aura. Build the demon city. Once the demon city is complete, it will follow me to the myriad worlds. I want to set up another pavilion called the Lingxiao Pavilion. Anyone who has made a supreme contribution to the demon city can create a statue and send it to the pavilion. They will be worshipped by countless demons. Those who have made indelible contributions can draw a portrait and send it to the pavilion. I will set up an altar. It will be called the Demon Sacrificial Altar. There will be a monument on the altar called the Heroic Soul Monument. Anyone who dies on the battlefield for the demon city will have their name imprinted on the monument. Eternal glory. Di Shitian once again threw out a sentence that shook the hearts of the demons. I want to cast the Lingxiao Pavilion and the Demon Sacrificial Altar with the flesh and blood of the Demon God clan. Do you have the courage to take it with me? Dare. 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 The blood in the hearts of the demons was completely stimulated. One by one, they shouted crazily. Demons. They had to fight against the heavens, the earth, and their lives. Whoever blocked in front of them would be killed. If the Demon God clan blocked in front of them, then they would use the flesh and blood of the demon god to build the altar. If it was the heavens, then they would shatter the heavens. What they wanted was this fearless, never say die, unyielding blood and willpower. Build the city. Di Shitian softly spat out a sentence. The demons suddenly seemed to have endless power in their bodies and began to enter their positions, refining divine crystals, transporting divine crystals, setting up arrays, countless restrictions, and so on. It was done in an orderly manner. The speed of construction was accelerated by nearly 30% again. In this pagoda, one day was equivalent to 100 days outside in the third level. The abundant time was completely reflected in the construction of the city. How is the casting of the terracotta army? He turned his head and began to ask about the progress of the terracotta army, whose eyes flashed with a strange light. When he described the Lingxiao Pavilion before, he couldn't help but have a great desire in his heart. Send it to the pavilion and receive countless offerings, and it could be immortal. What an incredible honor it was to be immortalized for thousands of years and spread throughout the heavens and realms. His heart also began to move. Your Majesty, please rest assured. The 100,000 terracotta army models have been cast. However, it will take at least 10 years to complete. At that time, Your Majesty will have the world's most powerful heavenly soldiers and generals, who said respectfully, Okay, I'll wait for another 10 years. Di Shitian nodded thoughtfully. 10 years in the middle was only 1 or 2 months outside. It could disappear in the blink of an eye. Since he was imprisoned and couldn't leave, then he could take this opportunity to cultivate in seclusion and completely break through the various barriers in the fifth demon vein. Completely refining the divine essence. Completely connecting it with the other 4 demon veins. Smoothly connecting them together. When I leave the mountain again, I want to shock the heavens and earth. Di Shitian waved his hand and turned to walk into the 4th level. Inside, there was a 150-fold time reversal. A day outside was 150 days inside. In less than 3 days, a year had passed here. If he was really suppressed for 500 years, at least tens of thousands of years would have passed inside. But how could he be willing to be suppressed? If he wasn't suppressed, only strength, powerful strength, could reverse all of this. Crazy Di, You have to wait for the ancient city of demons to be built before using the ancient city to crash into the demon mountain. Shatter the demon mountain? How could Ming not guess his thoughts? However, he said worriedly, your idea is indeed good. The ancient city is completely forged with divine crystals that are not in the 5 elements and are extremely hard. In addition, the powerful restrictions in the God Sealing Ball and the array restrictions that countless array masters have put into the city can make the ancient city extremely powerful. However, the 4 heavenly gates still lack 4 types of divine stones. If we can't truly unleash their extreme power, I'm afraid there will be some mistakes. The biggest problem was the 4 heavenly gates. He couldn't get the real one, and the fake one lacked the most important part. The power would definitely be greatly reduced. I will blast open the gate of the 5th level. I hope that there is a treasure vault in the 5th level. With the vast collection of the heavenly demon treasure vault, I might be able to find a portion of the divine stones. Looking up at the sky, the gate of the 5th level was still tightly shut. It blocked the way forward. However, before that, I need to condense the Dharma power. Kai Tian unleashed the power of the Dharma power. The power that erupted from his attack was actually comparable to that of a heavenly demon. Comparable to a demon emperor. Especially when this power was completely under his control. Even if he could only use it once and couldn't continue fighting, it still had an unparalleled deterrent power. Once condensed, it could even help refine the immortal body. Immortal body. Crazy DI, I was right about you. Even in your current situation, you still haven't lost your mind. Yes, in this world, the most important thing is strength. If you have strength, you are a supreme being. If your cultivation is low, you will be humiliated. During this period, you can cultivate well and stabilize your 5th transformation realm and condense the Dharma power. The time you lack can be made up for in this period of time. I want to fill you in with some common knowledge about cultivation. Only by laying a good foundation can you climb to the peak. Ming stroked his dragon beard and nodded in satisfaction. He was now wholeheartedly focusing all his energy on Di Shitian. When one falls, all falls. When one rises, all rises. This time, it could be considered an opportunity. Di Shitian didn't think too much. He walked to an open space and sat down cross-legged, immersing his mind in his body. He silently circulated his cultivation technique, channeling the royal true force to nourish his flesh and blood and refine his demon meridians. In his mind, he was also thinking about condensing the Dharma power. There were acupuncture points in the body of a living being. Acupuncture points contained the Tao of heaven and earth and the mysteries of life. Every acupoint was a place of good fortune. There could be a Dharma power overseeing it. Once the Dharma power was condensed, one could peek into the mysteries of the immortal body. It was the root of divine powers. At the limit, one could block natural disasters and life calamities. The number of acupuncture points, 1 was the least, and 9 was the limit. Every meridian could open at least 1 aperture, and at most 9 apertures. The more acupuncture points, the greater the potential and strength. Condense the Dharma power and establish the foundation of a heavenly demon. A series of words flowed through his mind like a tide. It nourished his mind. Monthly votes are in short supply. Help. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen, please go to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 586. He scanned his body with his mind. Sakura created his own unique skill, Huangji World Shocking Book, which could be said to be the one and only supreme skill in the world. It condensed the Emperor's Tao and the Tao of Desire into one, and after mastering it, it faintly surpassed the heaven realm. With the level of the skill, naturally, every time he stepped into a higher level, the acupoints that could be opened on the demon meridians in his body would also be the best in the world. He could open 9 imperial true acupoints. Now, he had cultivated the 5th volume of the Imperial Shocking Book. The first 4 volumes had been cultivated to perfection. Not only had he completely opened up his demon meridians and connected them to each other, but his acupoints had also been opened to perfection. He had opened up 9 acupoints in each of them. 4 by 9 meant 36 acupoints. Now, he had cultivated 2/3 of the 5th volume. He had opened up 6 acupoints. Adding them all together, there were already 42 imperial true apertures opened in Indra's body. I cultivate the Emperor's path and the path of desire. To condense the Dharma form, I must have abundant imperial purple chi and true dragon chi. And a huge amount of the power of desire. The power of desire is endless in the void. I can absorb it as I wish. However, if I want to obtain the imperial chi and true dragon chi, I need to find an imperial city to absorb it. Secondly, I can find the location of a dragon vein. Sakra secretly pondered in his mind. At the same time, he operated his cultivation technique to bring his body's condition to the peak of cultivation. However, although I don't have abundant imperial purple chi and dragon vein chi, I have this. Indra stretched out his finger and gently swiped it between his eyebrows. Suddenly, a dense purple light flashed in that purple mark. A lifelike true dragon immediately flew out from the eye of heaven's punishment and rapidly grew in size in an instant. It was 3,000 feet in front of him. This was a true dragon. The true dragon contained a huge amount of imperial chi and true dragon chi. It was lifelike, like a living creature. Its whole body was covered in a layer of dense chi. However, in its eyes, there was no spirituality at all. It looked very dull. TSK. Crazy DI, your luck is really unique. Now that the 1,000 city had yet to be completed, they were unable to gather the monarch's aura and were trapped here. It was even more impossible to find the dragon vein. Fortunately, he managed to capture 2 of Ju Wuqing's true dragon primordial spirit in the god-perishing abyss. With the vast amount of monarch aura within these 2 true dragons, it is enough for you to form more than one Dharma idol. The Emperor Chi here was simply too dense. As expected of the true dragon violet Chi gathered by the immortal Emperor dynasty. Furthermore, I've already wiped out the true dragon's consciousness. You can take the true dragon's Emperor's Chi as you please. Ming clicked her tongue and laughed strangely. She was excited by Di Shitian's luck. Then, he shouted, maybe, with your current strength that is comparable to the peak of the great demon, and the potential of condensing the indestructible skeleton, you can raise your Dharma power to the profound level in one go. When the yellow tear Dharma idol was formed, the Dharma idol appeared extremely illusory and ethereal. Ordinary great demons could condense it. Once a profound level Dharma idol was formed, the Dharma idol could turn from illusory to corporeal, just like a real entity. Previously, the Dharma idol that the blazing sky demon emperor had displayed was a physical body. It was even more powerful. Normally, one would only be able to advance when they reached the beast saint level. When an earth-level Dharma idol was formed, the Dharma idol would possess spirituality and could attack enemies on its own when released. It could suppress heaven and earth. It was vast and invincible. At this level, only heavenly demons could do it. A heaven-class Dharma idol was mysterious beyond compare. Once formed, the Dharma idol would have boundless divine abilities. It could block karmic tribulations and heavenly disasters. If one encountered a tribulation of death, one could sacrifice one of the Dharma idols to block the tribulation of death. It was equivalent to having multiple lives. This was an ability that only unparalleled powerhouses had. Therefore, generally speaking, it was almost impossible for unparalleled powerhouses to die. Standing at the peak of heaven and earth. Rest and recharge. 3 days later, Di Shitian opened his closed eyes. There was a flash of light in his deep eyes. Absorb the true dragon and help me condense my Dharma idol. Di Shitian looked at the true dragon in front of him. 2 rays of divine light shone on the true dragon. Roar. The true dragon, which was originally in a daze, suddenly had a flash of divine light in its eyes. Its 3,000 feet long body immediately emitted waves of divine light. It danced and rushed into the clouds, extending for 3,000 feet. A huge dragon head faced Di Shitian. It opened its mouth and spat out a mouthful of golden true dragon chi, which landed on Di Shitian's head. The top of his head opened like a whirlpool. It was bottomless. The descending true dragon chi was continuously devoured into his body. Under Di Shitian's control, the golden true dragon chi quickly converged into the first imperial true aperture in his sorrow meridian. Boom! Boom! The inside of the imperial emperor's true aperture was like an empty void. There was nothing inside. However, there was a mysterious aura in the aperture. It was as if it possessed the mysteries of the beast body. As soon as the true dragon chi poured in, it immediately entrenched itself in the aperture and turned into a ball of golden liquid that spiraled in the aperture. In the golden liquid, the majesty of an emperor was wantonly emitted. It faintly stirred the aperture and formed a mysterious connection with the entire imperial true aperture. Power of desire, listen to my command. Gather my body, the Tao of Emperor, and the Tao of Desire. Merge into one and form the Dharma idol. Di Shitian let out a shout in his mind. With a thought, he activated the vast power of desire in the void. In the void, a pitch-black cloud appeared out of thin air and spread out in an instant, covering the entire sky. It was so dark that it blocked all light. The cloud layer emitted all kinds of terrifying desires. As long as one looked at it, one's mind would be uncontrollably affected, and one's imagination would run wild. The power of desire of sorrow, joy, sight, taste, and anger surged and spiraled in the cloud of desire. This was precisely the 5 kinds of desires that Sakura had comprehended today that had been aroused by him. The vast power of desire swirled and turned into a funnel, and a huge amount of power of desire entered his body. It quickly rushed into the aperture. It spiraled and intertwined with the true dragon chi. Ultimate Emperor, I am the Emperor. Obey my command, 9 revolutions of the true aperture. Form the Dharma idol. In the aperture, there seemed to be a voice filled with supreme authority. At the same time, a snow-white jade cauldron suddenly appeared in the aperture space. On this jade cauldron, there were countless mysterious demonic patterns. It was the illusion of the demon refining cauldron. Buzz! The demon refining cauldron shook violently, and the lid flew into the air. A powerful devouring force appeared in the cauldron and swept through the entire aperture. On the spot, it swallowed the true dragon chi and power of desire that had surged into the aperture into the cauldron. With a bang, the cauldron lid fell, and the demon refining cauldron began to spin clockwise. As it spun, the entire aperture space twisted and spun with it. Moreover, the speed was not fast. As it spun, it moved the trajectory of heaven and earth. In the cauldron, the power of true dragon and power of desire intertwined and slowly merged with each other. Thump! Thump! In the cauldron, as it spun one after another, there was a strange sound that sounded like the beating of a heart. Every time, it would cause the entire aperture to beat. It was as if it was nurturing some kind of mysterious life. At this moment, if anyone could see it with their own eyes, they would see that all the true dragon chi and power of desire in the cauldron were refined into mysterious talismans. There were hundreds of millions of talismans in the cauldron. They were densely intertwined with each other. 9 revolutions. When the demon refining cauldron had driven the aperture to 9 revolutions. Bang! The cauldron lid was lifted. Roar! The moment the cauldron lid was lifted, all the talismans in the cauldron gathered together in a mysterious trajectory. Suddenly, a slightly illusory pitch-black divine tiger let out a roar that sounded like a tiger's roar and a dragon's roar. It was a domineering roar that could tear metal and stone apart. With a roar, it rushed out of the cauldron. Rumble! Divine light flashed on the black tiger's body. A mystical black tiger stood in the aperture space, emitting a pitch-black divine light. On its back, a pair of pitch-black wings spread open. The purple imperial pattern on its forehead flickered, and its body exuded a supreme emperor's aura. The most mystical thing was that on this Dharma form, it was not pitch-black hair that was distributed all over its body. Instead, it was covered in tiny, pitch-black scales. Dragon scales. Black dragon scales covered every part of its body, its wings, and every inch of its skin. The aura exuded from its body was mixed with the dragon chi and the tiger chi. This is the Dharma form that I condensed. Di Shitian looked at the Dharma form that was born in the imperial true aperture and carefully scanned it in his mind. He nodded in satisfaction. The combination of the Emperor's Qi and the power of desire allowed the Dharma form to condense dragon scales. This increased the power of the Dharma form. The Dharma form had just been condensed and appeared unusually illusory. However, the moment it was condensed, this Dharma form had already formed a mysterious connection with the entire imperial true aperture. It suppressed the void. Waves of Emperor's Qi and the power of desire were continuously absorbed from the void and entered the Dharma form. At the same time, the Dharma form emitted a pitch-black divine light. This divine light penetrated the aperture and entered the surrounding flesh and blood. It continuously tempered the flesh and blood. This kind of tempering was almost non-stop. In other words, the flesh and blood around the Dharma form was constantly using the power of the Dharma form to temper the flesh and blood. It was constantly strengthening and tempering the flesh and blood, transforming it into an indestructible and immortal body. TSK, lunatic DI, do you feel it? This is the real magic of the Dharma form. When you condense the Dharma form, it automatically absorbs the Emperor's Qi and the power of desire from the void and stores them into the aperture. The more Dharma idols you condense, the faster you will be able to refine your demon body. It is irreplaceable for cultivating an immortal body and entering the heavenly demon realm. Dark exclaimed excitedly. Phew. Sakura heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. I can feel that my strength is increasing, and my demon body is also constantly becoming stronger. I don't need to control it at all. It can temper itself without stopping at all. Feeling the benefits of condensing the Dharma form, his heart was filled with excitement. If he waited until the Dharma form was completely condensed and then used the Emperor's way, it would explode with incredible power. For a moment, his heart was burning with passion. Condensing the Dharma form was filled with endless motivation. Brothers, let's do this. To be continued. If you want to know more, please go to www.chidien.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 587. The true dragon above his head breathed out dragon chi. The vast power of desire was endless. Although the true dragon was supporting the condensation of a Dharma power, the surface of the Dharma power had become slightly dim. However, it still contained a large amount of Emperor Qi. It was enough to support the condensation of multiple Dharma powers. It doesn't matter if the Dharma power is illusory. As long as it is condensed, the Dharma power can carefully absorb all kinds of essence energy in the void to strengthen itself. The Dharma power will strengthen itself and help to temper the demon body. Now, the Emperor Qi can only be absorbed from the 2 true dragons that I got from Ju Wuqing. If I can be more frugal, I should be more frugal. Who knows, I might be able to condense a few more Dharma powers. All kinds of thoughts flashed through Di Shitian's mind. In fact, to be able to condense a Dharma power so smoothly. The most important thing was the existence of the demon refining cauldron. The demon refining cauldron could fuse the true dragon chi and the power of desire into one and refine them into a talisman. Then, the talisman could condense a Dharma power. Step by step, one could condense a Dharma power in one fell swoop. Without the demon refining cauldron, it would be a big problem to fuse the two together, not to mention refining them into talismans and condensing a Dharma power. The energy required would be unimaginable. Di Shitian took a deep breath. Without thinking too much, he concentrated on the second Emperor's true aperture. He started to condense the second Dharma power. This time, he had completely made up his mind to use this period of time to refine his cultivation, and learn all the cultivation methods that could increase his cultivation. Condensing a Dharma power, breaking through the demon meridians, and using the divine essence to strengthen the heavenly punishment divine eye. He hoped that the divine eye would be able to obtain the instant of youth. Then, he would let Ming help him make up for the various cultivation knowledge that he lacked. This process of accumulation was what he had always wanted. 500 years. Who can suppress me for 500 years? Di Shitian thought of the demon mountain that was pressing down on his head, and endless fighting spirit rose in his heart. This demon mountain did not wear down his willpower. Instead, it stimulated his desire to become stronger. In the third heaven, in the demon city, countless demon clans were working in full swing to contribute to the demon city. After obtaining a large number of treasures from the myriad treasure Scarlet Tide, the materials for refining divine crystals were almost endless. Under the forging of the 7 orifices exquisite pot, the divine crystals were piled up into several mountains. In the smithing pavilion, Huang Quan and Tian Kan were doing their best to refine the 4 heavenly gates. All sorts of rare materials were poured in without any hesitation. He could already vaguely see the embryonic membrane of the divine gate. In an empty space in the ancient city, 100,000 terracotta soldiers were lined up neatly. They formed an army brazenly, exuding an austere aura. Di Shitian's forces were growing at an unbelievable speed. Every demon was cultivating diligently, accumulating every bit of strength they had. The exquisite treasure pagoda was a place blessed by the heavens for cultivation. It was simply something that ordinary people couldn't even dream of. There was no reason for the group of demons to not work hard when they knew the value of this treasure. Let's not talk about Di Shitian silently accumulating his strength and waiting for the moment when the demon city was completed. However, when he crossed the void and entered the demon realm, when he inexplicably participated in the demon battlefield. In fact, after he left, there was also a development in the God's Fall abyss. Di Shitian crossed the void with the heaven-connecting yin-yang bridge. He left the abyss. Then, the Crimson Tide completely erupted. Under the deterrence of countless soldiers in the Crimson Tide, even the 10 immortal sects couldn't do anything else. They could only watch as countless treasures entered the treasure bowl and the money tree. However, this time, as the biggest winner of this Crimson Tide, Di Shitian officially fell into the eyes of these higher-ups. Not to mention the news of the existence of heavenly demons in the demon race spreading, under the deduction of the heavenly secret sect, Di Shitian's identity was exposed on the spot. Especially the location of his foundation, the Southern Barbarian, also fell into the eyes of countless people. At this moment outside the Southern Barbarian, in the void, there were no less than hundreds of thousands of immortals standing in the air. They were stepping on auspicious clouds. One by one, they looked at the Southern Barbarian with excitement and greed in their eyes. These people had all advanced to the immortal realm. The strong one, the leader, was actually an immortal emperor. This immortal emperor was also somewhat famous in the heaven realm. He was an ancient giant with exquisite poison skills. He was simply a character who was feared by everyone. He was respectfully called Myriad Poison Venerable. However, he didn't belong to any sect. As a rogue cultivator, he had advanced to the ancient giant and was also a great legend in the heaven realm. However, his temperament was both good and evil. It was difficult to distinguish between good and bad. If he was not pleasing to the eye, he could make 1,000 miles of land barren and turn into a poisonous area. If he was pleasing to the eye, he might give the other party a good fortune. This kind of person was the most difficult to deal with. In particular, he was greedy by nature. As long as he saw something good, he would use all kinds of means to get it. Southern Barbarian. The Myriad Poison Venerable was dressed in a green robe. He had a pair of triangular eyes. The light in his eyes flickered. He looked like a hibernating poisonous snake. He glanced at the Southern Barbarian. The clouds in the Southern Barbarian couldn't block his vision. There was a strange light in his eyes. It is said that this is an ancient battlefield in ancient times. Countless gods and demons fell here. It was an important place of the demon clan, but it has long been abandoned. I didn't expect that there would be a divine demon hidden in such a place. There must be a big secret hidden here. Di Shitian has plundered countless treasures. Once he returns here, if I can seize them, the huge amount of treasures will be enough to support me to become a peerless expert. Thinking of this, a touch of greed flashed in the eyes of the Myriad Poison Venerable. At any time, plunder was the most fundamental nature. The 10 immortal sects deduced the approximate identity of defy. However, they didn't directly invade the southern barbarian. Instead, they strangely spread the news, which made countless itinerant cultivators yearn for it and gather there out of greed. They wanted to get a share of the southern barbarian. The 10 immortal sects spread the rumor. It could be said that they wanted to use the power of itinerant cultivators to test the situation in the southern barbarian. Then they would make other plans. I heard that there is a divine demon in the southern barbarian who plundered countless treasures in the Crimson Treasure Tide. Any one of them can increase our value by 100 times. I heard that when the divine demon was snatching the treasures, he was severely injured by the 10 immortal sects with their sect-guarding divine weapons. At this moment, he only has 20 to 30% of his cultivation left. A mere monster wants to enjoy those boundless treasures. It's simply wishful thinking. We humans are the protagonists of heaven and earth. Logically speaking, the treasures should belong to us humans. Hundreds of thousands of us gathered in the southern barbarian. I don't believe that we can't kill that monster. Among the itinerant cultivators, countless discussions sounded, and there was no lack of charm in their words. After all, in the abyss, defy's actions were too fierce. Charge in. Waves of tyrannical divine thoughts completely shrouded the southern barbarian and scanned every inch of space. After finding no threat, the greed in their hearts could no longer be suppressed. They came down from the air and wanted to rush into the southern barbarian. Humph. However, at this moment, the myriad poison venerable snorted coldly. Suddenly, hundreds of thousands of itinerant cultivators quieted down. One by one, they all looked at him. Obviously, this operation was led by him. The myriad poison venerable glanced at the southern barbarian coldly. He laughed strangely and said, "A mere southern barbarian can give birth to a divine demon. I'd like to see what's so magical about the southern barbarian. If we're going to play, let's play big. I'll first make the southern barbarian barbarian. On the spot, all the itinerant cultivators couldn't help but tremble in fear. They all stopped their footsteps and left the southern barbarian far away, afraid that they would be mistakenly killed by the myriad poison venerable. Whoosh! The green robe on the myriad poison venerable's body fluttered without wind, and a ray of dark green divine light soared into the sky and directly rushed into the void. Rumble! In the void, a green cloud flashed out of thin air. After this green cloud appeared, it quickly spread in all directions and instantly enveloped the entire southern barbarian. For a time, the southern barbarian was shrouded in a layer of shadow. With a whoosh, raindrops fell from the sky crazily. The raindrops were very strange. They were dark green raindrops. Crossing the void, it made a terrible kai-kai sound. It landed on the towering ancient trees of the southern barbarian lands. Immediately, the green leaves of the trees, which were originally full of vitality, emitted white smoke after the raindrops fell on them. They withered at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was as if all the water was drained in an instant and corroded in an instant. Countless plants began to wither. Countless animals died instantly in the poisonous rain on the spot. An aura of death hung over the southern barbarian. The grayish-white color quickly spread everywhere at a speed visible to the naked eye. There was no doubt that if the poisonous rain continued like this, the entire southern barbarian would completely become a barbarian land in a short time. Barbarian. Buzz. However, at this moment, in the myriad demon valley, a loud roar suddenly sounded. In the valley, a huge tombstone rose into the sky. It instantly soared into the sky. Countless mysterious prayers appeared on the tombstone, and the extremely strong cold air swept in all directions in an instant. Crack! The poisonous cloud in the air bore the brunt and was frozen into ice crystals on the spot. It fell down. Mysterious ice covered the mountains and forests. In the southern barbarian, all kinds of trees were frozen in an instant. The cold air swept across the southern barbarian. The 100 poison venerable was in the southern barbarian. Most of the cold air emitted from the tombstone rushed toward him. It was so fast that even he couldn't dodge it. Almost in the blink of an eye, it came to his side. It didn't give him any chance to react. After being covered by the cold air, The 100 Poison Venerable was frozen in an instant. A venerable, an ancient giant, had no resistance in front of the tombstone. Bang! The ice sculpture of the 100 Poison Venerable fell in front of the southern barbarian, and all the vitality disappeared. In his eyes, there was a touch of uncontrollable horror. The tombstone also disappeared in the blink of an eye. The southern barbarian turned into an ice domain. It was completely frozen. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidien.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 588. The entire southern barbarian was completely frozen in an instant. On the ground, layers of sparkling ice crystals condensed and covered the earth. The ancient trees were frozen and turned into ice trees, lifelike. All kinds of creatures in the forest were also frozen and turned into ice sculptures, turning the entire southern barbarian into a strange ice domain. In the sky, snowflakes danced. They floated down. The most terrifying thing was that in front of the entrance of the southern barbarian, the figure of the 100 Poison Venerable stood in front of the forest and turned into a lifelike ice sculpture, taking root and connecting with the southern barbarian. On his face, the panic was still clearly visible. One could imagine how horrified he was when he was frozen. Even resisting did not change his fate of being frozen. At the same time, among the hundreds of thousands of rogue cultivators, there were almost 100,000 who did not have time to retreat to the southern barbarian, or were at the edge of the southern barbarian. They were swept by the cold air and followed in the footsteps of the 100 Poison Venerable. They turned into ice sculptures, and even their expressions before being frozen were vivid. It landed in front of the southern barbarian, as if it was guarding this ice domain. Terrifying. Too terrifying. From the appearance of the tombstone to its disappearance, it was only a matter of a moment, but it had changed the whole area. It was as if the 100 Poison Venerable's act of wanting the southern barbarian to be barren and covered in death had touched a terrible taboo, causing a backlash. What's going on, my ancestor, the ancient giant, the 100 Poison Venerable, a powerhouse among the venerables, was frozen in an instant. Who can tell me, what is that tombstone? Southern barbarian, this is the southern barbarian. Even the ancient giant died in an instant. Forbidden area, this is a forbidden area, even a forbidden area may not be so terrible. In the blink of an eye, more than 100,000 fellow cultivators died before even entering the southern barbarian. There was also a venerable. Go. We can't stay in this place. No wonder this place became the oldest ancient battlefield in the ancient times. Rumor has it that there were countless powerhouses of various races who died here, and their corpses could be piled up to the sky. Indomitable spirit. No wonder the southern barbarian could give birth to a peerless sky demon. This is a dangerous place, a terrifying place. Treasures. You have to be alive to enjoy them. This place, let the 10 immortal sects deal with it. It's not something loose cultivators like us can spy on. The hundreds of thousands of rogue cultivators who were lucky enough to survive sucked in a breath of cold air almost at the same time. Terrifying, it was really too terrifying. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they wouldn't be able to understand the shock in their hearts. Even an ancient giant with an indestructible primordial spirit could be sealed without being able to resist. The dangers of this place were imprinted in their souls on the spot. Looking at the ice sculptures standing in front of the southern barbarian, each of them felt a chill in their bones. It was as if they had seen a ferocious beast. They all turned around and fled into the distance. They were afraid that if they were a step slower, they would follow in the footsteps of the 100 Poisons Venerable. They fled abnormally fast. There are treasures in the southern barbarians. The news of many itinerant cultivators entering the southern wilderness was spread by the 10 immortal sects. Although they wanted to use the greed in the cultivators' hearts that could not be suppressed to test the situation of the southern wilderness. However, spying in the dark was unavoidable. In the void, who knew how many hidden experts were secretly watching? Seeing the tombstone with their own eyes, The hearts of countless experts couldn't help but tremble. Almost at the same time, the same thought appeared in their minds. That tombstone was too powerful. It was so powerful that even the ancient giant couldn't compete with it. Could it be that there is a peerless expert of the demon clan hidden in the southern wilderness, the supreme demon god? There is still a demon god in the demon clan who hasn't fallen? A shocking guess emerged in their hearts. The scene just now had truly shocked them. There were only two possibilities that could cause the situation just now. One was that there was a peerless expert hidden in the southern wilderness, the supreme demon god. The second was that the southern wilderness could be called a fierce place, and there was a supreme treasure hidden in it. No matter which possibility it was, the meaning contained in it had incomparable value. The spying eyes in the dark did not decrease. However, the news about the southern wilderness spread in all directions in an instant, and even in all the worlds in the universe. At this moment, no one found that in the frozen southern wilderness, there was still a place that was not frozen. It was still green inside. That place was the southern part of the southern wilderness. In the Myriad Demon Valley. The Myriad Demon Valley was hidden in the myriad soul-devouring bones painting. Looking from the outside, the surface was no different from the other frozen areas. What one saw was also the scene of being frozen. In fact, it was not. Under the cover of the formation map, the inside was a completely different scene. In the valley, the vegetation was still delicate and beautiful, exuding vitality. However, the Myriad Demon Valley, which used to be lively, seemed a little lonely at the moment. In the valley, there were mostly some spirit beasts moving around. But the demonic beasts, or even the transformed demon clan, were not seen. The buildings that used to stand in the valley had long been moved away. Compared to before, it was too desolate. In front of the waterfall in the valley. But there was a beautiful scenery standing there. A tall and perfect body, dressed in colorful clothes that set off the curves of the figure, a beautiful black hair draped behind the shoulders. Looking up at the void, snowflakes drifted down in the void. Medusa withdrew her gaze as if she had obtained something. She muttered to herself, "Mother sent me to the southern barbarian lands the moment I was born. All along, I did not understand. But now, I understand a little. The southern wilderness really hides a big secret from ancient times. Especially in the ancient ruins underground. It actually gives me a kind of familiar power. It has been attracting me to go there." She muttered to herself, and her eyes seemed to be thoughtful. A strange light flashed through her eyes, as if she had made a decision in an instant. With a wave of her hand, a passage appeared on the ground in front of her. She moved her feet and slowly walked into the passage. Her figure disappeared. In addition to the Myriad Demon Valley, there was another place in the southern wilderness that was not affected by the ice. On the withered bone wilderness, the incomparably evil myriad bone-devouring trees emitted a demonic light. These were the trees of utmost evil that were completely made up of the skulls of living beings. Looking at the skulls in the trees, there were specks of green light. It was chilling. Croak, croak. A hoarse and unpleasant chirping sound came from the strange trees from time to time. This made the wasteland seem even colder and gloomier. The underworld raven was the most evil creature in the world. When the underworld raven was less than 10,000, it was invincible. At this moment, on the largest myriad bone-devouring tree, the underworld raven king, which was hundreds of feet in size, spread its wings and swept the wilderness with cold eyes. Wah! A high-pitched chirp came from the underworld raven king's mouth. The sound was so sharp that it covered the entire withered bone wilderness in an instant. Woo-woo! As if accompanied by the underworld raven king's cry, all of the 10,000 bone-devouring trees in the entire wasteland suddenly emitted a strange whistling sound at the same time. The 9,999 soul-devouring trees scattered across the wasteland all emitted a strange evil light and began to tremble violently. Each soul-devouring tree occupied a strange position. They trembled at the same time and connected with each other, forming a strange connection. It was as if all the soul-devouring trees were completely connected at this moment and became a whole. Rumble. The vast wasteland began to shake violently as well. Woo-woo. Countless remnant souls of gods and demons were roaring. From the wilderness, a grayish-white aura of death emerged like a tide. The wilderness was like a swamp, continuously emitting the aura of death. Once the aura of death appeared, it immediately gathered toward the myriad bone-devouring trees. In an instant, it gathered toward the largest myriad ancient soul-devouring emperor tree in the center in a strange way. It quickly poured into the underworld Raven King's body. The underworld Raven King stood on the crown of the tree as countless aura of death gathered. The power on its body was unparalleled. It was like a gray sun that symbolized death. It was as if it was undergoing some kind of inconceivable transformation. On a mountain peak, a golden lion king with 3 heads silently observed the surroundings. There was a strange and mysterious color in its eyes. It was as if it could see the future, predict everything, and see through people's hearts. It was so deep that one could not help but be immersed in it. The great era has finally arrived. The opportunity for our demon race to rise has also appeared. The dazzling Emperor Star is slowly rising. It emits boundless divine radiance. The Golden Lion King slowly spat out these words. Then, with boundless mystery, it turned and left, disappearing. It went into hiding. There seemed to be endless secrets in the southern barbarian. Time flew by like an arrow. In the blink of an eye, a year had already passed. In the demon battlefield in the underground world of the demon realm. Under the 5-finger demon mountain, the Linglong treasure pagoda was still emitting waves of bright divine light. 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation, break for me. In the Linglong treasure pagoda's 4th heaven, black tribulation clouds covered the sky, and the vast power of the tribulation clouds intimidated the surroundings. The space in the surroundings was twisting and turning. Countless lightning bolts danced wildly, turning the entire void into a doomsday scene. Under the tribulation clouds, Di Shitian was wearing a black robe, and the tiger soul in his hand was slanted to the ground. On the tiger soul, a pitch-black divine tiger looked down at the sky. Its awe-inspiring power was accompanied by a deep tiger roar, causing the surrounding space to be annihilated. An invisible aura actually caused the space to be unable to withstand it. Upon closer inspection, the tiger figure in the tiger soul was no longer illusory. Instead, it was a physical existence. Di Shitian's emperor's aura became even more intense. Crack! With a twist of his wrist, the tiger soul drew a bright arc in the void, following the trajectory of heaven and earth, and drew out a long saber light. The saber cut into the tribulation clouds. A handsome black tiger with black wings on its back appeared in the tribulation clouds. Instantly, endless golden saber chi exploded, rampaging. Everywhere it passed, the tribulation clouds were cut into billions of pieces. Roar! The tiger roar followed closely behind, causing countless ripples in the void and shattering the scattered tribulation clouds. Whoosh! Di Shitian opened his mouth and sucked in the void, and the scattered energy in the tribulation clouds was instantly swallowed into his stomach. Grade 7 Black Lotus, 6th Refinement Beast Core. Ancient Demon King, I am at the peak. Something happened today, and I'm in a bad mood. I'm so depressed that it affected my condition. Sigh, I'll see when I can get ready to erupt. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 589. 150 years, 6th Refinement Stage Monster Core. The Black Lotus in my body has evolved to the 7th grade, and my body has grown to 2,000 feet. My desire to see has been fully realized, and my monster meridian has been opened. Today, I have finally laid the foundation to climb to the peak. Clang! With a twist of his wrist, the tiger soul's sharp edge disappeared, and he sheathed the saber. He stood up and stood in the void as if he was walking on flat ground. His clothes and black hair danced in the wind, and every strand of his hair contained boundless monster power. His eyes shone brightly, shooting out rays of light. The space in front of him turned illusory, and a purple light flashed between his brows, emitting a threatening aura. The sharpness of the divine light seemed to have accumulated to a peak. His body shook. Roar, roar, roar. The void behind him turned illusory, and rays of divine light rushed out from his body, forming domineering Dharma idols behind him. They looked like black tigers, but they were covered with a layer of fine dragon scales. A total of 36 Dharma idols flipped around behind him, and the aura of dragons, tigers, and overlords burst out from them. Sakra's figure, under the contrast of the Dharma idol, became even taller and more majestic than before. TSK, lunatic DI. Inside the Linglong treasure pagoda, you can be said to be blessed by the heavens. The treasure that Ziua left for you is something that even peerless powerhouses would covet. Only a year has passed outside, but inside the Linglong treasure pagoda, a full 150 years have passed. In these 150 years, your foundation has been completely established. You have also broken through the various barriers with your own efforts and reached the 6th refinement stage, the peak of the ancient monster king realm. You are just a step away from becoming a great monster. Dark laughed arrogantly. 150 years. In the outside world, only a year had passed, but in the pagoda, Di Shitian had experienced 150 years. During this long time, with Dark by his side, he had completely filled in the various cultivation experiences that he lacked in the past. He had even formed 36 Dharma idols. Each of Ju Wuqing's 2 true dragons allowed him to condense 18 Dharma idols. Each Dharma idols was in charge of one emperor's true aperture. At this moment, 4 demonic veins in his body had condensed Dharma idols. In these 150 years, he broke through the divine splendor of his demonic veins, condensed his acupoints, and accumulated his true force. In one fell swoop, he reached the peak of the 5th transformation of his Yarodan and broke through the 6th demonic vein. Then, he would pass the heavenly tribulation desire realm and advance to the 6th transformation of the Yarodan. The results were remarkable. Greater demon? A strange light flashed in Di Shitian's eyes as he muttered, "It's easy for me to become a great demon." However, the source seed of the world has already been upgraded to a high-grade one. If it isn't perfect, I won't be satisfied. Indeed, even if he wanted to become a big demon now, it would only take a single thought. As long as he consumed the source of the world and borrowed the power of the world within it, he would be able to become a big ancient demon without any obstacles. However, it wasn't easy for the source seed of the world to be upgraded from low grade to high grade. If he couldn't upgrade it to perfection after consuming a large number of source of life seeds, he wouldn't be able to do anything. No matter what, he was still unwilling to give up. A perfect source seed of the world. A peerless treasure that had never appeared in the world before. No matter how much he desired strength, Di Shitian didn't want to waste all his previous efforts at this crucial moment. Thinking about the source seed of the world, Di Shitian's heart stirred as he thought to himself, the only thing to worry about is the heaven's punishment that will appear when the time comes. The heaven's punishment will definitely be terrifying. Without being fully prepared, I can't act rashly. That's right. Ming also agreed, although I guess that your Eye of Heaven's punishment might be related to the legendary Heaven's punishment, this matter is too important. We can't place all our hopes on the Eye of Heaven's punishment. At least, we have to wait until the demon city is completed. With the ancient city as the foundation. Only then will we have the confidence to try. This matter had to be taken seriously. At this moment, they were already closely linked. One's loss, one's loss, one's glory. Boom, boom. At this moment, 2 figures rushed out from the 3rd level of heaven. 2 figures, one black and one white. They were as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, they entered the 4th level of heaven. When they saw Di Shitian standing in the void, they bowed respectfully and said, "Your Majesty, Huang Quan, Tian Can. Have the 4 heavenly gates been completed?" Di Shitian glanced at them and asked with a dignified expression. Tian Can shook his 2 long, snow-white eyebrows and said excitedly, "Your Majesty's wisdom is unparalleled. Huang Quan and I have spent countless precious materials and successfully completed the 4 heavenly gates 3 days ago. Although it's not as powerful as a real carnate spiritual treasure, it's comparable to a peerless treasure. There was a trace of excitement in his voice as he spoke. Moreover, the terracotta soldiers and horses have been completed. There are 100,000 terracotta soldiers and horses and 18 terracotta generals. With divine crystals as the bodies, all of them have been completed. We just need to wait for your majesty to use the secret method. Take this unparalleled army for your own use. Huang Quan's eyes lit up as he spoke. Demon City obtained a huge amount of materials from the treasures your majesty plundered from the 1,000 treasures Crimson Tide and refined them into abundant divine crystals. With the help of the demons, the ancient city has been completed. Only the various buildings, palaces, mansions, and houses in the ancient city have not been built yet. The demon city can be considered to be completed. We just need to place the 4 heavenly gates in the east, west, north, and south. Then the ancient city can erupt with infinite power. Tian Can's eyes were filled with yearning. 150 years, in this long period of time, was enough for the Linglong Treasure Pagoda to undergo tremendous changes. The terracotta soldiers and horses have been completed. When Di Shitian heard this, the light in his eyes instantly burst out to 30 feet away, directly piercing through the void in front of him. The space was constantly annihilated, and a strong pressure flashed and quickly disappeared. From this, one could imagine how much importance he had in his heart. He said happily, "Good, good, good." After 3 consecutive good words, he said without hesitation, "The demon city needs a peerless ferocious weapon to guard it. Only then can it unleash the unparalleled power of the ancient city, suppressing the myriad of worlds." After hearing this news, Di Shitian's entire mind was instantly focused on the terracotta soldiers and horses. Originally, before Tian Can, Huang Quan, came, his plan was to break through to the 6th cycle of the Yarrow core realm, and his essence, energy, and spirit were at their peak to blast open the door to the 5th layer of the Linglong Treasure Pagoda. According to his calculations, the 5th layer of heaven's shocking treasure trove left behind by Purple Moon was very likely to be hidden there. Once he obtained it, it would be an immeasurable amount of wealth. In addition to the treasures he plundered from the 1,000 treasures Crimson Tide, his throne as the 2nd richest man in the world would be unshakable. Di Shitian took a deep breath, calmed down the excitement in his heart, and said in a deep voice, "Let's go, follow me to the terracotta army battle formation." In the 3rd layer of heaven, a vast and majestic divine city that exuded boundless ancient charm appeared between the heavens and the earth. Looking at its appearance, it was like an ancient god that was in a deep slumber, and its entire body was shrouded in a layer of obscure and mysterious aura. Even so, standing in front of the ancient city, one could not help but feel an extremely strong sense of oppression. One could not help but feel like one had to lower one's head for no reason. Good, good, good. Di Shitian looked at the ancient city, and his heart was filled with excitement. However, in an instant, he felt a boundless killing intent from the ancient city that seemed to want to slaughter everything. It was overbearing and unrestrained, like an unparalleled ferocious beast. Just by feeling a trace of its aura, one could touch a kind of aura of death. A terrifying shadow shrouded his heart. Kill, kill, kill. Although there was no sound in the void, Di Shitian could clearly feel the violent killing intent contained in the boundless killing intent in his mind. The sounds of killing shook the ancient times. The pure killing intent was like a flood or a ferocious beast that could destroy any powerful existence. Vaguely, there seemed to be an unparalleled ferocious beast in the void. If one's state of mind was slightly weaker, one would be instantly swept into the boundless killing intent, assimilated, eroded, or even destroyed on the spot, and died instantly. TSK. Nether resided within the Nether prison, and she couldn't help but cry out when she sensed the extremely fierce killing intent. This killing intent is terrifyingly pure. As expected of a clan of slaughter that was born from the boundless killing intent in God's Fall Abyss. The soldier soul is the soldier soul after all. If it wasn't for your terracotta army that trapped them in the crystal terracotta body and prevented them from escaping, I'm afraid they would have broken out of the seal and slaughtered the entire heaven and earth. The crystal terracotta is the reason why the terracotta army is so strong. It's also the fundamental method that I use to imprison and restrain them. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have dared to put them in the ancient city. Sakura calmly spat out a sentence, but within his words, there was a kind of strong confidence. That's right. With your intelligence, how could you leave behind any hidden dangers? TSK. The terracotta army is completed. Now, all you need to do is to use the century slave seal to completely subdue this peerless heavenly soldier. Ming nodded and praised. They entered the ancient city. In the city, there were still a large number of demons who were busy everywhere. They were either setting up various formations, setting up restrictions, or carving patterns, etc. They were contributing every bit of strength to the perfection of the demon city. However, although there were many demons in the ancient city, when they approached the west, they deliberately moved to the side and forced their way to other places. As they looked, there was a vast open space in the west. Lifelike terracotta army, each of which was 3 meters tall, were lined up neatly with sparkling divine light all over their bodies. They were arranged into a terrifying battle formation, and there was a strong killing intent reverberating around them. Especially the 18 terracotta army soldiers at the front, each of which was 30 feet tall. They each held different weapons in their hands. The terracotta army soldiers looked cold, but the most terrifying and violent evil spirits were hidden in their cold bodies. It was just that the evil spirits were restrained by the bodies and could not be released. What a great soldier soul! Di Shitian closed his eyes and quickly scanned the many terracotta army soldiers with his divine thought. He could feel the murderous intent of all the soldier souls in the terracotta army, and his eyes could not help but shine. I will have an invincible evil weapon. An extremely firm voice echoed in the ancient city. It was very difficult for me to write this chapter. While I was frustrated, I didn't want to disappoint my brothers who were waiting for me. It took me more than 4 hours. It's so late, I don't have the face to ask for votes. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidien.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 591. Soldiers. Ferocious. An army without murderous intent and ferocious spirit was just a decoration. An army was born to kill. The meaning and value of their existence was to kill. The amount of murderous intent in an army represented its true strength and ultimate combat effectiveness. The soldier's soul was the spirit, and the crystal terracotta soldiers were the body. The soldier's soul was a race of slaughter born from slaughter. Only slaughter was above all. The crystal terracotta soldiers were made of divine crystals, which were beyond the 5 elements. They were magical treasures outside of the 5 elements. Even divine weapons could hardly leave a mark on them. If the two could be combined into one, their combat effectiveness would be strong enough to shock all the worlds. The most amazing thing was, the crystal terracotta soldiers contained Di Shitian's power of faith. They imprisoned the soldier's soul in the terracotta soldiers and used the power of faith to subtly change the soldier's soul's consciousness, causing the two to slowly merge. When the 100-generation slave seal is used, it will not resist the power of the slave seal. In the end, it easily subdued 100,000 terracotta soldiers. Nurtured for 100 years. Finally, it was time to witness the birth of a peerless murderous weapon. Are you ready, Nether? Success or failure depends on this. Standing in front of the terracotta soldiers and feeling the fierce murderous intent emanating from them, Di Shitian stood proudly. He glanced at them one by one without dodging. Hee. Don't worry, Madman Di. The century slave seal has long been ready. Nether raised his huge dragon head confidently and waved his dragon claw. A purple ball of light the size of a soccer ball appeared in Nether prison. It disappeared in an instant and appeared in front of Di Shitian. Upon closer inspection, one could see strange talismans flying and circling in the ball of light. Each talisman seemed to have a mysterious power. Upon closer inspection, even one's mind could not help but be sucked in. Counting them carefully, there were exactly 10,018 talismans in total. Di Shitian's eyes lit up when he saw it. He reached out a finger and gently touched his forehead. Good. Swoosh. The heavenly punishment divine eyes opened in an instant, and a mighty divine power swept across the sky. A purple divine light shone on the light ball in front of him. Suddenly, the light ball began to disintegrate rapidly, and turned into 10,018 century slave imprints that hovered in the divine light. 100 generations slave imprint upon thy body. Body and soul become one. With me, invincible. My decree. The divine light of heaven's punishment shone from the left to the right like the morning light and landed on all the crystal figurines in front of him. Every time the divine light landed on a crystal figurine, a talisman would fly out from the divine light and rush into the crystal figurine's glabella, turning into a mysterious seal. In an instant, all 10,018 crystal figurines had merged with the century slave seal. Retracting his divine light, Di Shitian stared at the crystal figurine before him. Boom boom boom. In the crystal figurine's body, after the soldier's soul accepted the century slave imprint, it was rapidly merging with its own body. When it was merging, blood-red color was emitted from its body. The boundless murderous aura directly caused the surrounding void to vibrate slowly. The sharp murderous aura was like a treasured sword that was suddenly unsheathed from its scabbard, releasing endless cold gleams. Streaks of blood-red runes spread rapidly like meridians on the surface of the crystal-clear figurine's body. Blood figurine. Huang Quan's eyes widened abruptly. The soldier's soul is really terrifying. The intensity of its murderous aura is unparalleled. When it merged with the figurine's body, it actually turned the crystal figurine into a blood figurine. This is the real killing weapon. Once it's placed on the battlefield, I wonder who in this world can go against it. Tian Can's 2 white eyebrows kept trembling, and his heart was beating wildly in front of these combat figurines. He could smell the scent of death. Boom boom boom. The blood-red color on the surface of the crystal figurine instantly covered the entire figurine's body, causing all the figurines in front of him to turn blood-red on the spot. In particular, the blood-red runes on the surface of the figurine seemed to have a life of their own as they kept moving around like ferocious beasts. It was very strange. The eyes that were originally closed opened instantly. Their eyes were covered with a thick blood-red color, and even endless coldness and indifference. At the same time, a blood mark appeared between their eyebrows. The blood mark emitted a dense blood-red light, and it opened to both sides. The moment it opened, a shocking murderous aura cut through the void like a sharp sword. It sent chills down one's spine, and a blood-red eye suddenly appeared on their foreheads. They actually had an additional blood-red vertical eye. In the blood-red eye, there was a terrifying power that could annihilate heaven and earth. The Eye of Annihilation. I didn't expect them to inherit the divine Eye of Annihilation from my heavenly punishment. However, with their murderous nature and the destructive power of the Eye of Annihilation, their combat power will definitely multiply. When Di Shitian saw the blood-red eye, a thought quickly flashed through his mind. The lifetime slave seal was very strange. It could make the other party a slave for 100 lifetimes, and they would never regret it. They were the most loyal servants. However, at the same time, they would also inherit a divine ability from their master. At this moment, the 100,000 figurines had inherited the Eye of Annihilation at the same time. Annihilation, the main destruction. It had the most terrifying killing power. Now that it had merged with the figurines, it could be said to be like adding wings to a tiger. Bang! 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 The 100,000 figurines opened their eyes. When they saw Di Shitian, they took 3 steps forward in unison. Smack! Under the lead of the 18 figurines, all the figurines pushed a golden mountain and a jade pillar and faced Di Shitian. With a bang, they knelt down on one knee and said without any emotion, "Your Majesty." Although there were no superfluous words, there was an unshakable firmness in their voices. These were the men of sacrifice. From today onwards, you are my subordinates, the blood-killing guards. Guard the demon city. Di Shitian spat out a sentence cautiously. As soon as the words blood-killing guards came out, the air was filled with a tragic killing intent. Yes. The 18 blood-killing generals responded in unison. I will bestow upon you the art of war. Di Shitian directly imprinted the art of war deduction into the minds of the 18 blood-killing generals with his demon consciousness. The eyes of the generals flickered with bloody light as if they were rapidly absorbing all kinds of military knowledge. A moment passed, only to see that 8 of the blood-killing generals were divided into 4 directions, walking towards the east, west, north, and south respectively. There were 2 blood-killing generals in each direction. At the same time, 3,000 blood-killing guards followed behind them. They appeared in front of the heavenly gate. One on the left and one on the right, standing upright like door gods, guarding the 4 heavenly gates. The rest of the blood-killing guards were spread out, guarding the heavenly gate. The rest of the blood-killing generals rushed to the most important places in the ancient city. In front of the Lingxiao Palace, 2 guards were sent out. In the Jade Pool, 2 more guards were sent out. In front of the Imperial Treasure Vault, 2 more blood-killing generals were sent out. The last 4 guards stood in the center of the ancient city. The blood-killing guards also spread out, bringing the entire demon city under the control of the blood-killing guards. No matter what happened in the city, they could react in an instant. However, after each of them appeared in their own positions, whether it was the blood-killing generals or the blood-killing guards, they all closed their eyes at the same time, their bodies motionless. The murderous aura around them was restrained. There was no sign of life at all. They were like lifelike statues. Although they were mighty, at first glance, they would definitely not pay too much attention to them. TSK. Each of the 100,000 blood-killing guards is comparable to a demon saint. Especially after obtaining a body, their combat strength is even more powerful. 100,000 demon saints are stationed in the demon city, plus 18 blood-killing generals who are even more terrifying than sky demons. In this short period of time, lunatic Di, you already have a powerful foundation that is almost comparable to the accumulation of the 10 great immortal sects for countless years. Ming's eyes lit up. Once such strength was released, even the 10 great immortal sects would be overshadowed. Tian Can, Huang Quan, placed the 4 heavenly gates. Di Shitian took a deep breath and ordered Tian Can, Huang Quan, who was behind him. Yes. Without any hesitation, the 2 elders agreed in unison. Tian Can's body trembled a little, which was caused by excitement. The 4 heavenly gates were his and Huang Quan's meticulous masterpiece for 100 years. They were supreme treasures refined by them. Your Majesty, please take a look. Tian Can stretched out his palm. In his hand, bursts of snow-white divine light flickered. With a light toss, 4 white lights rushed into the void. Countless snow-white auspicious clouds emerged out of thin air. In the clouds, the 4 heavenly gates appeared in front of them. The 4 heavenly gates were hollow in the middle. There was no closed door that could be passed through. On top of it, countless mysterious cloud patterns appeared, setting off an ancient charm. In the middle, there was a crystal-clear ancient mirror. Around the ancient mirror, there were 5 grooves. It seemed to be used to fit something. At this moment, in the 5 grooves around the ancient mirror, one of them was embedded with a snow-white flawless marble. The marble and the heavenly gates were perfectly fused together without any gaps. It caused an incredible power to appear in the heavenly gates. A fake was a fake after all. It couldn't be compared to a real carnate spirit treasure. It required 5 types of divine stones to have great power. Sealing stone, heaven sealing stone, heaven sealing stone, heaven sealing stone, void annihilation stone, and immortal stone. Each had divine power. That marble was the sealing stone of the 5 types of divine stones. It fused with the heavenly gates, causing the heavenly gates to have the power of sealing. Anyone who passed through the heavenly gates would be sealed on the spot once they were discovered to be an enemy. On the 4 heavenly gates, mysterious ancient seals appeared: East Heavenly Gate, West Heavenly Gate, North Heavenly Gate, and South Heavenly Gate. 4 of the 5 types of divine stones are missing. The heavenly gates are incomplete. Di Shitian glanced at the heavenly gates and couldn't help but say thoughtfully. After pondering for a moment, he shook his head and said, "The ancient city has been completed. Now, We can only place the heavenly gates on it first. When we find other divine stones in the future, we can re-inlay it and slowly complete it. For this matter, no matter how smart he was, there was nothing he could do. 5 types of divine stones, each of them was a rare treasure that could only be encountered by chance. Even if he plundered the 10,000 treasures red tide, he couldn't find them. It was difficult to cook without rice. However, the most important thing at this moment was to complete the demon city. Placing the heavenly gates was imperative. 4 heavenly gates, integrated into the ancient city, protect the 4 directions, everlasting and immortal. Imperial. The first update has been delivered. Today, I said the 3rd update, and I will definitely do it. Brothers, please give me some encouragement. Monthly votes. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen, please go to www.chidyen.com. More chapters, support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 592. Boom. 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 The 4 heavenly gates shook violently in the void, shattering the surrounding white clouds. Countless mysterious cloud seals appeared in the heavenly gates. Each cloud seal was like a white cloud, pure and flawless. The heavenly gates that served as a foil had a natural and sacred aura. It was both mysterious and vast. They surrounded each other and spun violently. After 9 revolutions, they turned into 4 streaks of white light and landed in 4 directions of the demon city. The structure model of the ancient city was refined using an incomparably precious treasure in heaven and earth, the embryonic membrane of heaven and earth. It had an extremely strong defensive power. At this moment, in the 4 directions of the ancient city, there was an illusory heavenly gate standing in each direction. It emitted an ancient charm. It naturally emitted endless majesty. However, the heavenly gates looked extraordinary. But it was ultimately illusory. It was unable to unleash its true supreme power. Boom. Boom. At this moment, the 4 streaks of white light instantly descended and merged with the remaining illusory heavenly gates. The heavenly gates merged with the embryonic membrane of heaven and earth. On the spot, waves of vast heavenly might swept out in all directions like a tide. Rumble. The moment the heavenly gates were placed, the entire unparalleled ancient city seemed to have completely awakened at this moment. The entire ancient city suddenly shook violently. The ancient city, which was large enough to accommodate tens of billions of living beings and was as vast as several Earths, shook. On the spot, the surrounding void did not even have the slightest resistance and was annihilated with a bang. Countless spatial faults appeared around the ancient city. They were constantly healing and reincarnating in annihilation. Streaks of divine light bloomed from every inch of the ancient city. The divine crystal was crystal clear and rippling with crystal light. Under the contrast of the divine light, it completely formed an incredible crystal ancient city. Countless mysterious talismans emerged from the ancient city. The incomparably huge ancient city, amidst the thousands of divine lights, actually floated up inch by inch out of thin air. The demon city, our demon city is rising, the unparalleled divine city above the 9 heavens. We have built it, we have succeeded, the ancient city has begun to fly. Ha ha, the holy land of our demon clan, the true foundation, the supreme foundation that can protect our demon clan from ancient times and pass down our legacy forever. His Majesty is everlasting. Our monster race finally has a foundation. With this unrivaled divine city, let's see who can bully us in the myriad of worlds. With this ancient city, even the ancient giants can be suppressed and destroyed. This is where we will live in the future. It's too majestic. The demons in the 3rd heaven all gathered outside of the ancient city and watched as the demon city of myriad demons emitted a boundless divine radiance. It rose inch by inch from the ground, as if it wanted to soar above the clouds. Each and every one of them shouted excitedly. Every inch of the ancient city was the result of their hard work. An indescribable sense of pride swirled in their hearts. A kind of sustenance was quietly growing. Around the ancient city, the energy of heaven and earth, as well as all kinds of yuan qi, surged toward the demon city. In an instant, the entire ancient city turned into a terrifying black hole that devoured all the yuan qi in the world. It was like a small sapling that was crazily absorbing all the nutrients it could get from the world. While devouring the vitality, the ancient city continued to rise rapidly into the sky. Outside the city, auspicious clouds clustered together. They circled around. In the blink of an eye, it was already above the clouds. Looking up from below, the entire demon city was looming in the clouds. There were no city walls, but there were 4 simple and unadorned gates that stood in all directions. At a glance, it was like the king of the ancient city. It was majestic, imposing, simple, and majestic. Just by looking at it, one could not help but want to submit to this city. I want to build an unrivaled demon city. How can there be no restrictions? God-trapping sphere, come out. Di Shitian felt that the moment the demon city was perfected, the entire ancient city had completely become natural, crazily devouring the yuan qi of heaven and earth. At the same time, the city seemed to have become an existence that was independent of heaven and earth. The ancient city was separated from heaven and earth, forming a cave of its own. It merged with heaven and earth, absorbing endless yuan qi. For a time, the yuan qi of heaven and earth in the demon city increased crazily. In an instant, it was so rich that it reached an incredible level. Just by taking a breath, one could swallow the purest yuan qi of heaven and earth. The density of the yuan qi was rising to the peak of the acquired yuan qi. Once it reached the peak of the acquired yuan qi, this place would truly become a holy land. Even if a pig was thrown into the city and did not know how to cultivate, it would transform into a spirit beast, a demonic beast, or even a demon in a year or 2. However, Di Shitian did not lose his mind because of this. The demon city was just a preliminary completion. If he wanted to make the ancient city have the power to suppress all the worlds in the universe, the restrictions were absolutely necessary. Yes, yes, yes. Quickly take out the god-trapping sphere that we got from the exchange on Linglong Celestial Island. That is an Earth-level god-trapping sphere. The divine restriction inside is enough to kill an ancient giant. 9 heavens 10 earths god-slaying demon annihilating seal. TSK, this restriction is absolutely overbearing. Dark licked his lips and cried out in anticipation. Back then, he had paid a great price in Linglong Celestial Island and exchanged the source of life for the god-trapping sphere. What was the reason? It was all for the demon city today. Although the ancient city had a deep foundation, it still needed a powerful killing move. The god-trapping sphere came from the forbidden land of the 9 forbidden lands. It nurtured a supreme divine restriction inside. Moreover, the divine restriction inside was the mysterious 9 heavens and 10 earths god-slaying and demon-slaying restriction. According to the records, once this divine restriction was activated, it could transform into the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Within this range, any intruder would be slain. A crystal ball that was only the size of a fist appeared in front of him. Looking at the crystal ball, there were countless threads shuttling back and forth, intertwining with each other and weaving countless mysterious trajectories. Every single strand seemed to possess great power. Boom, boom, boom. Di Shitian moved his mind. Suddenly, the ancient city shook violently, and a pitch-black 7th-grade black lotus appeared from the ancient city. The black lotus appeared, and it was thousands of feet long. Circles of ripples appeared on the surface of the black lotus. This black lotus was formed by a strand of his primordial spirit when he was building the ancient city. It completely merged with the ancient city. If the ancient city was a body, then the black lotus was the primordial spirit of the ancient city. Therefore, Di Shitian stood in the city, and he was the supreme emperor. He was undefeatable. Seeing the black lotus appear, he waved his hand without hesitation and pressed the god-trapping sphere onto the black lotus. Crack! The black lotus trembled violently and burst out bright lightning. In the blink of an eye, it was covered by a dense layer of lightning. With a loud bang, it merged with the demon city. Rumble. When Black Lotus returned to the ancient city, he saw that the entire ancient city was shaking violently. Terrifying sounds of thunder could be heard all around the ancient city. Millions and millions of lightning dragons were roaring. They surrounded the ancient city and turned it into a terrifying lightning prison in an instant. Hundreds of millions of thunder roared and rushed into the sky above the ancient city. They coiled together and turned into a thundercloud that covered the sky. Moreover, this thundercloud was not just one layer. After it appeared, the thundercloud kept stacking up until it formed 9 layers of thundercloud. The higher it went, the thicker and more terrifying the thundercloud was. From the bottom to the top, the thunderbolts produced by each layer of thunderclouds were different. For example, the lowest layer gave birth to the 5 elements divine lightning. Above that was the yin-yang divine lightning. Above that was the divine devil-bane lightning. They all got stronger and stronger until the topmost layer gave birth to the god-slaying lightning. Demon-slaying lightning. Once one got close to the thundercloud, it would trigger the thundercloud's bombardment. Thousands of thunderbolts would descend, and one would be blasted to pieces on the spot. Below the ancient city, there were bursts of earthy yellow halos. Layers of underground worlds were formed under the ancient city. There were a total of 10 layers of underground worlds, called the 10 Earths. Inside, endless yin lightning was nurtured. If one fell into it, one would not be able to escape easily. In the blink of an eye, one would be blasted to death by hundreds of millions of yin lightning. 9 heavens and 10 earth. Di Shitian retracted his gaze and looked at the ancient city under his feet. There were countless lightning bolts crazily shuttling through the divine crystals on the ground, covering every inch of the ancient city. It made the restrictions in the ancient city many times stronger. One could clearly feel the 9 layers of thundercloud in the sky and the 10 layers of underground worlds below the city. They were all closely connected to the Thousand Fiend city. They merged into one. The restrictions gave birth to the void. The Earth-rank God-restricting sphere is indeed a rare treasure in the world. With this divine restriction, the power of the Thousand Fiend city instantly increased by more than 100 times. This divine restriction will also carefully absorb the essence energy in the void to strengthen itself. The lightning inside will also become stronger. No, if you can get the carnate spirit treasure in the forbidden land of the 9 great forbidden lands, the forbidden red lotus. If you can get it, you can merge the forbidden red lotus with the Thousand Fiend city. Even an unparalleled expert will not be able to move the ancient city. Ming seemed to have fallen into a crazy reverie. When Di Shitian heard this, a bright light flashed in his eyes. His gaze became deep again. He said calmly, in the 9 great forbidden lands, every one of them is a top carnate spirit treasure. It is not something we can pry into at all. Let's talk about the future in the future. What we can do now is to make the ancient city as strong as possible. He looked at the ancient city and said, now, the 4 heavenly gates replace the city walls. The 9 heavens and 10 earths god-slaying demon-slaying restriction protects the city. The stellar devil seal tablet draws in the power of the stars. It allows the ancient city to fly in the air. However, this way, the ancient city can't move at full speed. It seems that we have to put the matter of refining the fake cloud-gathering banner on the agenda. Also, we have to refine the lightning-gathering tower in the ancient city. With the Heavenly Thunder platform as the foundation, we can gather the power of the Heavenly Thunder and nurture the Divine Thunder. When attacking the enemy, we can use thousands of Divine Thunder to kill the enemy. After careful calculation, the ancient city was only in its initial stages. There were too many things that needed to be improved. Especially the problem of the ancient city's movement. It was also very important. The second update has been delivered. Let's continue with the 3rd chapter. Brothers, when you're reading, throw in a few monthly tickets. Little Di is accumulating strength and is about to go crazy. Give it some strength. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 593. This is the end of the third update. Brothers, you're awesome. Lightning Tower? What's that? When Ming heard this, he was a little puzzled, as if he couldn't immediately understand. Do you still remember the heavenly lightning tower that we taught Demon King Peng and the others to refine back then? Di Shitian's face revealed a trace of confidence as he said meaningfully, if we transform the heavenly lightning tower into a lightning tower and let it have the ability of the heavenly lightning tower to gather the power of lightning between heaven and earth, gathering countless primordial chi and nurturing thousands of divine lightning in the tower. When released, it will definitely have a destructive power that can shock heaven and earth and make ghosts and gods weep. Right now, he was thinking of all kinds of ways to increase the strength of the demon city. In his imagination, it was fine if the demon city didn't appear, but once it did, it would have the vast power to deter all the worlds in the heavens and intimidate boundless evil. Otherwise, if such a peerless ancient city appeared, if they didn't have the ability to possess it, they would definitely attract countless spies. Who knows, they might plot against them somewhere. If they didn't arm the demon city to the teeth, wouldn't they disappoint those spies in the dark? The heavenly lightning tower was a treasure used to gather lightning and cast the purple thunder rain. When placed in the 9 heavens, it could gather the power of lightning on its own. It could be said to be miraculous. At this moment, if he used the refining method of the heavenly lightning tower to refine a lightning tower, it would be a terrifying offensive weapon. Moreover, there have to be a lot of them. If there are 100,000 of them, even a supremacy will be annihilated if they attack together. Di Shitian's words were cold and indifferent. Those who dared to invade would all be killed. TSK, lunatic Di, you are indeed crazy. If you really succeed, I'm afraid the entire demon city will become a huge porcupine. Whoever touches it will die, Ming cried out. The demon city floated in the void at a height of 30,000 feet. It was motionless. A huge amount of primordial chi surged into the city, constantly pushing the primordial chi in the city to the peak of postnatal primordial chi. Divine light descended and guided the demons into the city. Not to mention the excited scene of the demons. They found the heavenly silkworm and Huang Quan elders. The 2 elders' cultivation had already recovered to the demon saint realm after recuperating in the exquisite pagoda. However, he had yet to fully recover and return to the heavenly demon realm. Witnessing the unparalleled power of the demon city, the 2 elders stood in front of Di Shitian with even more respect. Although the myriad demon city can fly in the air, without the cloud-gathering banner, the difference in speed is too great. Tian Can, you were once friends with Tian Jizzi, so you should know about the cloud-gathering banner. Di Shitian's eyes shone with divine light as he glanced at the 2 elders and said solemnly, the real gathering clouds banner had only appeared in the ancient times. After the ancient times, it had completely disappeared. I'm afraid it would be extremely difficult to find. Therefore, they could only replace it with a fake. I wonder if this cloud-gathering banner can be refined. The cloud-gathering banner was also a primordial spiritual treasure, and a defensive one at that. With a shake of the banner, it could gather countless auspicious clouds to protect one's body. Even a peerless powerhouse would find it difficult to break through. If one were to use it to escape, it would be unbelievably fast. It was quite famous in ancient times. Unfortunately, it had long been lost after the ancient calamity. A hint of hesitation appeared on Tian Can's face. He didn't immediately agree. Do you have any difficulties? Di Shitian was shrewd enough to understand the gist of things. He asked, if there's anything, just say it. This seat isn't unreasonable. Your Majesty. Tian Can bowed respectfully. This old servant has seen the cloud-gathering banner with my own eyes in the ancient times. I even had the interest to borrow it and study it for 3 years. Your Majesty knows that although this old servant didn't possess any primordial spiritual treasures in the past, I've touched many of them with my own hands and refined no less than 100 fake ones. I've refined one myself in the ancient times. His voice was full of pride when he spoke of his glorious deeds in the ancient times. Is it because you lack materials? Di Shitian knew that Tian Can was definitely a grandmaster in the world of artifact refinement. There were probably only a handful of people in the world who could match him in artifact refinement. In the ancient times, even primordial spiritual treasures, which were born from the chaos, could be forged using all kinds of materials. Just these 4 heavenly gates alone were enough to prove his proficiency in refining artifacts. It was forged according to the gates of heaven in the forbidden grounds of heaven. It was comparable to a supreme treasure. As for the cloud-gathering banner, he had already refined a fake one in the ancient times. He must have been very familiar with the process of refining. Now, he was acting like he was in a difficult position. Obviously, he had run into trouble with something else. "Your Majesty is wise," Tian Can said with a grave expression. "The might of the cloud-gathering banner is connected to the clouds. To refine it, one of the most important materials is the heavenly cloud crystal essence in the forehead of the heavenly cloud beasts born in the clouds of the 9 heavens. This kind of sky cloud crystal essence can only be obtained when the sky cloud beast with a lifespan of 1,000,000 years is exhausted. It's a rare and precious treasure. The sky cloud beast was a kind of strange beast born from the clouds. Its body was like the clouds, able to gather and disperse. Moreover, the older it was, the smaller its size. For example, the size of a newborn sky cloud beast was usually hundreds of thousands of feet. It could cover the sky and the sun. As they grew older, their bodies would shrink with every year they grew older. Their bodies would become even more condensed. When they were 100,000 years old, a hexagonal crystal would grow on their forehead. It contained all of their essence. However, if one wanted to kill them and steal their crystal, it would be like drawing water with a sieve. Once the sky cloud beast died, the crystal would naturally dissipate. Only when the sky cloud beast died naturally would all of its essence be condensed into the crystal to form this miraculous treasure, the sky cloud crystal essence. It was also known as the sky cloud soul essence. There were countless treasures in the imperial treasure vault, but there was no such thing as the sky cloud soul essence. Without it, the cloud-gathering banner couldn't be refined. It was no wonder Tian Can was in a difficult position. Di Shitian thought for a moment, then said, "The cloud-gathering banner must be refined. Leave the matter of the sky cloud soul essence to me. Also, the lightning congregating tower." At this moment, only Tian Can and Huang Quan were at his side. When he told them about the lightning congregating tower, the 2 old fogies understood on the spot. They excitedly rushed into the forging pavilion. They began to study how to refine the lightning congregating tower. After all, Di Shitian only proposed a concept and direction of refining. It still needed to be perfected before the lightning congregating tower could be truly refined. After arranging all kinds of things, the city was left to who to handle. Di Shitian turned and entered the jade pool to visit his mother, White Tiger, and his sister, Little White, who was also Di Ling. White Tiger's mother was still in a deep sleep and couldn't wake up. Little White was in the jade pool borrowing the power of the obliteration pill to transform. It turned into a huge white egg and sank to the bottom of the jade pool. It absorbed a huge amount of nutrients. Exuberant vitality was clearly emitted from the egg. Its tyrannical aura was not inferior to that of a demon king. It could be seen that she didn't waste her time. Seeing White Tiger in a deep sleep, Di Shitian's eyes flashed with pain and cold killing intent. That 1,000 Beasts sect actually used such a vicious method on my mother. They poisoned her primordial spirit. This debt, even if I chase it to the 1,000 Beasts realm, I will make them pay. He took a deep breath and forcibly suppressed the pain in his heart. That hatred was engraved in his bones. When he thought of what happened to his mother, the anger in his heart almost burned his entire body. It was fine if his mother's mind was not clear. After all, with his methods, playing the heart-cleansing body song day and night could slowly wake her up. In the wine god's treasure mirror, there were many spiritual wines that could recover one's mind. For example, soul-returning wine, soul-nourishing wine, sky-heart dew wine. They all had the power to nourish the mind. But the most despicable thing of the 1,000 Beast sect was that they actually poisoned the primordial spirit. This poison was incomparably vicious. In the world, It had a name that made countless experts tremble in fear: soul obliteration. Usually, when it was hidden, it was impossible to detect. Once it erupted, it was like a bone moth that couldn't be removed. Under the corrosion of this insidious poison, the primordial spirit constantly dissipated. In the end, the primordial spirit was destroyed. There wasn't even a chance to reincarnate. When he saved White Tiger back then, he was naturally anxious to completely wake her up. He didn't expect that after returning, White Tiger's primordial spirit would constantly shrink. If it wasn't for Chen Shi's instant of youth that set up a restriction, preventing time from passing on her body, White Tiger would have long ceased to exist. Crazy DI, I'm afraid only the Thousand Beasts sect has a solution to this soul obliteration poison. The most important thing now is to strengthen our own strength at all costs. Now that the Thousand Beasts city has been built, we can escape from the Thousand Beasts realm. Once we are out of trouble, I don't believe that we can't find a way to cure the poison. Licking his lips, his huge dragon eyes flashed with a fierce light. With a hint of bloodlust. That's right. Di Shitian's eyes flashed with a cold light. He nodded and raised his spirits. Looking at the void, he said, "Let's go, we'll blast open the door to the fifth heaven." Endless expectations emerged in his heart. He turned and crossed over to the fourth heaven. The treasury left behind by Purple Moon had always been where he looked forward to the most. When he entered the treasury back then, he saw with his own eyes how huge the treasures in the treasury were. It was Purple Moon who gathered the last remaining treasures of the demon clan to form such a vast treasury. The treasury was divided into 3 levels. Back then, he only saw the first level. From the beginning to the end, the 2 levels above must contain even more precious treasures. Maybe I can find the 5 types of divine stones and even the heaven cloud soul essence in the treasury. Thinking of this, his heart became more and more expectant. Entering the fourth heaven. Scanning the void. He shouted, "Stairway to heaven, appear." Rumble. The void shook, and thousands of divine lights bloomed. In the divine light, a snow-white stairway to heaven condensed. There were only 9 steps on the stairway to heaven. But it crossed the void and extended to the door of an ancient pagoda. The door was tightly shut. Countless divine runes appeared, exuding an ancient charm. Blasting open the door would lead to the fifth heaven. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 594. Bang. Sakura stood in front of the sky stairway and glanced around. His eyes were filled with determination. Without any hesitation, he stepped onto the sky stairway. The moment he stepped onto the sky stairway, countless runes flashed from the sky stairway. Suddenly, the divine light that was wantonly scattered was instantly retracted and disappeared. The entire sky stairway exuded an ancient and dignified aura. It was as if a deity from ancient times was examining himself. A formless pressure poured down, exerting itself on his shoulders. It was unusually heavy. Humph. Di Shitian's feet did not move, and his body did not shake. His expression was resolute, and his black hair danced wildly behind his head. However, his aura was extremely calm, natural and restrained. It was as if he did not feel the pressure outside him at all. It was as if he was walking on flat ground. It was unimaginably easy. The pressure outside did not affect him at all. Bang, bang, bang. Heavy footsteps could be heard one after another. Sakura stepped on the heaven stairway abnormally casually as he walked up. Every step he took seemed relaxed and natural. Every time he went up a level, the pressure would increase once, but it didn't stop him at all. The indestructible bones of the immortal body, the 36 Dharma Laksana, and the 6th transformation of the monster core. This stairway can no longer stop you. If I had come here when I was at the 5th transformation of the monster core, it might have caused you some trouble. Now, it is like a gentle breeze. Dark looked at Sakura with satisfaction as he climbed up step by step without stopping. He couldn't help but stroke his dragon beard proudly and shouted, "Quick! Blast open the door and see what kind of treasure is waiting for you in the fifth heaven of the exquisite pagoda." Di Shitian was too powerful. The Linglong Treasure Pagoda had a total of 9 levels. To open each level required a corresponding level of cultivation. The first level could be easily opened by a first revolution demon core. Now, the fifth revolution demon core was blocking the way. Only those who had reached the fifth revolution demon core were qualified to step on the heaven stairway and break open the door. However, only those who had reached the fifth transformation monster core could rush up the stairway and blast open the door. Compared to Di Shitian, the stairway of heaven could no longer stop him. Step by step, he climbed the 9 heavenly steps. Relying on his tyrannical demonic body, he reached the top in an instant. Rumble. The stairway to heaven trembled violently before it turned into countless rays of light and disappeared. Xiao Chen stood in front of the huge pagoda door and stared at it for a long time. He felt a heavy aura coming from the door, a vast pressure that roared and wanted to blast him out. Di Shitian's body glowed with a treasure light, blocking the pressure. He endured it, but his body did not move at all. Open. He formed a hand seal with his hand, and the talisman with a fiend god pattern among the 4 talismans in the Black Lotus shook slightly, and a fiend god power instantly condensed in his hand. Along with the hand seals, a simple and ancient seal was formed. The ancient seal danced and emitted a boundless power that shook the surroundings. He casually grabbed the ancient seal. Then, he slammed his palm against the door. Boom! The ancient seal was like the sky, and it was as mighty as hell. When the seal landed on the pagoda door, it was as if thousands of fiend gods were roaring and unleashing endless power to push the pagoda door at the same time. The tightly shut pagoda door was blasted open on the spot. Ripples appeared in front of him like a layer of water screen. Poof! Di Shitian, who had experienced it before, did not hesitate. He stepped forward and directly passed through the light screen in front of him. Suddenly, the scenery in front of him changed abruptly. In front of him was still a vast and boundless world. White clouds floated in the void, and the ground was undulating with mountains and plains. If he did not know better, he would not have thought that he was only in the space of a pagoda, but an independent world. It was not much different from the other worlds. TSK, ZU is indeed ZU. A treasure like the Linglong Treasure Pagoda would make even the most powerful experts jealous. It can actually give birth to a world. Dark scanned the surroundings. There were no living creatures in this world. It was as if the seal was only lifted the moment the door was blasted open. The vitality in the world was even richer than in the 4th heaven. Quick! Look at the sky! Dark scanned the entire world with his divine consciousness and suddenly shouted. Di Shitian raised his head and looked up. A strange light flashed in his eyes as he said, "It's the Spider Lily Island." On the island, the beautiful spider lilies at the edge instantly awakened the memories in his mind. Back in the heavenly demon secret realm, the rolling Huang Quan sacred river separated the sky, and the heavenly yin-yang bridge spanned across the void. The ancient bridge's final destination was the Spider Lily Island. The Spider Lily Island was extremely huge. At a glance, it was almost as huge as Earth in his previous life. On the island, ancient trees towered into the sky, exuding an ancient aura and containing endless divine light. It was extremely dense and covered most of the island. A strange fog inexplicably spread out on the island. It blocked one's vision. The stones on the ground were peerless jade, and the trees were 10,000-year-old wood pith, rare spiritual materials. The grass on the side of the road was 10,000-year-old spiritual medicine. However, on the island, there was an inexplicable evil aura faintly emitting. It was as if it contained some kind of deadly monster. On the island, there were treasures everywhere. Natural treasures could be seen everywhere. Back then, after Silverhair, the Blood Dragon King, and the others left the treasury, they found many rare and precious treasures on this island. To put it bluntly, Bayan Island was a treasure island. It was rumored that this island was the legendary treasure bowl. However, with the existence of the fallen god's abyss, This rumor was naturally nonsense. However, it could also show that this island contained a huge amount of treasures. So the fifth heaven's treasury is actually this island. Di Shitian saw it and took a deep breath. Although he was slightly disappointed when he realized that it was not a treasury, it did not affect his mind. This island alone was a vast treasure trove. Although it's not a treasure trove, it will be a great opportunity for our demon city to strengthen our foundation if we take it under our control. I will take it into the city later. Lunatic Di, are you crazy? Do you know what this island is? Ziyu, could it be that she is really that person's daughter? A supreme treasure that has been extinct in ancient times has actually appeared here. You are rich, Lunatic Di, you are going to be rich again this time. When Dark saw Di Shitian's expression, he couldn't help but shout crazily in the nether prison. He bared his fangs and brandished his claws, roaring, "This is the nine-heaven breath soil, the legendary chaotic breath soil. The first divine soil in the world. You don't know what is good for you. This island is more precious than the source of life in your hands. Nine-heaven breath soil?" Di Shitian didn't care about Dark's scolding. He felt as if a huge thunderbolt had struck his mind. There were only a few divine soils in the world, but the nine-heaven breath soil was the first divine soil in the world. Its position was unshakable because it was the only supreme treasure born from the chaos. The soil contained the essence of the chaos. It was the mother of all things. Any heavenly treasure, even if it was withered, could be revived once planted on it. It glowed with exuberant vitality. As long as they were planted with the living soil of the nine heavens, their growth rate would increase by 100 times, and the quality of the spirit essence itself would increase by another level. Its medicinal properties would be stronger. What was more amazing was that just one grain of the breath soil could turn into a mountain out of thin air. A fist-sized grain of the breath soil could even fill the sea in an instant. You're saying that this island is the legendary nine-heaven soil of breath? Di Shitian's eyes shone brightly, as if it was going to pierce through the entire void. He had seen the second divine soil, the five-colored divine soil, with his own eyes. The five-colored divine soil contained endless essence of the five elements. Although it couldn't be compared with the nine-heaven breath soil, it was still a rare divine soil. Most of the spirit was planted on the five-colored divine soil. It could survive. He knew how magical the five-colored divine soil was. It definitely had endless power of creation. If it was the nine-heaven breath soil in front of him, its value would be immeasurable. I, Dark, used to roam freely in the ancient times. How could I be wrong? Dark snorted and said, "There is chaotic chi in this by an island. It is no different from the nine-heaven breath soil. How could I be wrong? However, this isn't the most primitive breath soil. It is an island formed by the breath soil. There should be 10 to 100 grains of the nine-heaven breath soil in the island. The breath soil is hidden in the island. Find it. Didn't you get the innate spiritual root, the peach of immortality tree from the money tree? The five-colored divine soil could only preserve its vitality. It couldn't let it grow normally and bear peach of immortality. With the breath soil, the peach of immortality tree can become a real innate spiritual root. It can give birth to a supreme treasure. Di Shitian was lost in thought, but he didn't rush to the island to search for the nine-heaven breath soil. On the island, he could feel an extremely dense fiendish aura. Besides, the entire island was a rare treasure. It was a living treasure trove. Since the island is here, I don't have to worry about it running away. Let's break open the sixth heaven first. Indra shifted his gaze away, staring at the void. He could sense the flow of time in this heavenly layer. Compared to the fourth heavenly layer, the flow of time here was much faster. In the fourth heavenly layer, the flow of time was 150 times faster, while in the fifth heavenly layer, the flow of time was 200 times faster. He wasn't satisfied with breaking open the fifth heaven. His goal was the sixth heaven. Good. The breath soil of the nine heavens is in the fifth heaven. According to what you said, the only thing left in the Heaven Fae secret realm is the Heaven Fae treasure vault. There is a 90% chance it is in the sixth heaven. Dark was excited. The higher one went, the more valuable the treasures were. Now that there was the breath soil of the 9 heavens, there must be something even more valuable in the treasure vault. Boom! Boom! At the same time, in the sky above the fiendish demon battlefield outside the Linglong treasure pagoda, the world was suddenly covered by darkness. A profound scene appeared in the void, and a terrifying vortex appeared. I can't take it anymore. I'll make up for it tomorrow. I'll update it tomorrow. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidien.com. I support the author. I support the original reading. Chapter 595. Kill, kill, kill. The whirlpool in the air spun intensely, causing the surrounding space to distort. The sky turned dark, looking like a terrifying abyss amid the darkness. Overwhelming demonic chi immediately poured out in all directions. It was like a strong wind sweeping through the entire fiendish demon ancient battlefield. That pitch-black demonic chi was so dense that one could see it with the naked eye. Roar. Countless roars filled with violence came one after another, wildly erupting from the whirlpool like a flood. In the blink of an eye, the demonic chi filled the entire fiendish demon ancient battlefield. The vast demonic chi almost covered the entire heaven and earth. A terrifying demonic aura spread out in all directions. The whirlpool trembled intensely as if some terrifying demonic being was struggling to emerge from it. Oh no! It's the fiendish demon ancient battlefield. At a mountain peak riddled with holes in the fiendish demon world's underground world, there was a huge cave abode there. This cave abode was connected to the outside world, extending in all directions. The entire mountain peak had at least hundreds of thousands of holes connected together, making it even more difficult to figure out than a maze. Inside the cave abode, the golden-robed, baby-faced man with a murderous aura was sitting inside. He was the one who said those words earlier. Furthermore, aside from him, Chen Shi, the great rock fiend king, and the other fiend kings sat beside him. These were all familiar faces. There were also 2 unfamiliar faces. One of them was a woman. She was extremely coquettish, and her beauty was only slightly inferior to Chen Shi. However, her waist was swaying slightly, and a seductive temperament exuded from her body. It was enough to charm all living things. If she were to appear in the secular world, any emperor would want to make her smile. She was so beautiful that she could cause the fall of a city. This made one unable to extricate themselves from her lust. One could not help becoming engrossed in her. No matter how one looked at her, she looked like a delicate and lovable woman. She did not show anything strange on the surface, but she was on equal footing with the great rock fiend king. This showed that this woman was extraordinary. There was also a 3-year-old boy. This boy was extremely adorable. His face was very young and tender, as if he was carved from jade. He really looked like a child. There was an innocent expression on his face. Draped in a snow-white robe, she was truly innocent and radiant. Do the demon gods of the demon god continent have nothing better to do? A year. It's only been a year since the last war, yet they've opened up the tunnel again so quickly and resumed the war. Even if they treat the demon realm as a whetstone, there should be a limit to their training ground. If I don't show my power, do they really think I, Xie Sanyang, am a sick cat? Xie Sanyang, who was originally charming, raised her eyebrows and emitted a murderous aura. She stood up angrily. The demon god clan has always treated the demon realm as a training ground. Every once in a while, they would send a batch of demonic beasts and demon gods into the battlefield, using the demon realm to hone their army. According to the usual practice, after a war, the tunnel will only be opened again after at least 100 years. Blissful Boy frowned and said, could it be because the demon god clan was defeated on the battlefield last time? I'm here for revenge. Although there was nothing he could do. However, they had long known the true meaning of the demon battlefield's existence. This battlefield was simply a place for the demon god clan to train their army. If not for this, even if the demon god continent had not finished accumulating power and had the ability to devour the purple gold continent, they would still be able to wipe out all the demon race in the demon realm. It was not difficult. So what if they understood? The demon race could not afford to lose their inheritance. No, this time, the demon god clan is probably here to vent their anger. King Nightmare stood up, his eyes shining with wisdom and depth. He said, "Last time, the demon emperor schemed against the demon god clan's demon emperor Kai Tian and killed him on the spot, provoking the shrouding heaven great emperor. It's clear that Kai Tian's identity is not to be underestimated. Although the demon emperor was suppressed, it did not eliminate their anger. This time, they're back, mixed with anger. Their attack will be even more terrifying." He spoke leisurely, figuring out the general situation in just a few words. Demon Emperor? When this title was spoken, there was no one who could refute it. Demon Emperor Di Shitian. Although Di Shitian only had the cultivation of an ancient demon king, his feat of shocking the entire demon realm in the demon battlefield a year ago was imprinted in the minds of many demon kings in the demon realm almost instantly. That kind of monstrous battle strength made the void tremble. Even the sun and moon dimmed. Especially when he killed a demon emperor as a demon king. Such a feat it made the demon race feel a sense of admiration. When they thought of him, they had to look up to him. The title of demon emperor naturally fell on him. Furthermore, none of the demon race members had any objections to this. Almost at the same time when they heard it, they completely approved of it. Even Hulusi and the others silently agreed. The demon emperor is now suppressed under the five-finger demon mountain by the shrouding heaven great emperor. The demon mountain is connected to the heavens and earth, and is guarded by the demon god of great destruction. If we can rescue him from the demon battlefield, we might be able to reverse the situation, the Bloodflood Dragon King said after some thought. Although the 8 demon kings were not the strongest in the demon realm, their cultivations had all reached the peak of the great demon realm under the power of the body treasure tree. During this period, their demon essence was growing at an unprecedented speed. The rock demon king, who had the highest cultivation, reached the 6th refinement realm in a short time, the peak of an ancient demon king. The others, such as the Bloodflood Dragon King, the ancient demon tree king, the dream demon king, and Bai Hu, had all successfully reached the 5th refinement realm and continued to advance to the next realm at a rapid speed. Furthermore, each of them had a strong background. Their potential was immeasurable. In addition, they were from the purple gold continent. They represented the demon race on the source continent. Hence, they were not looked down on here. When they entered the Fey realm and saw that the Fey kings were just pawns fighting in the front lines, the emotions in the hearts of the Fey king and the others were almost indescribable. The pride of standing at the top of the Fey race on the source continent was shattered on the spot. They were not even qualified to enter the demon battlefield. If Di Shitian had not appeared out of nowhere, if he had dominated the battlefield, the reputation of the demon race on the source continent would have been thrown into the Huangquan River. How could they not stand up for him? Yanxia King, Bai Zian, gently stroked the green bamboo in her hand. She raised her face, which was bare, as if she did not care about anything, and said softly, "The demon emperor must be saved. Xie Sanyang, blissful boy, the demon god race is aggressive this time. They are obviously not kind." Hulusi emitted a layer of blood-red murderous aura. He said coldly, "Do the demon god race really think that the demon realm is easy to bully? I have decided. Our demon realm has 8 million demon kings, 30 million lesser demons, 1 demon saint, and 3 sky demons. We will teach them a lesson. Our demon realm is not a lamb to be slaughtered." A murderous intent flashed across Blissful Boy's young face. He nodded and said, "I agree." "Haha." Xie Sanyang chuckled and said, "It's been a long time since I tasted the demon god's blood essence." She stuck out her small tongue and licked her lips. She was full of seductive charm. "Mother," Chen Shi's mood sank. The scene of seeing his mother again appeared in his mind. Endless hatred emerged in his heart. Then, his husband was sealed under the demon mountain. His murderous intent toward the demon god race instantly soared. He raised his head and ordered outside, Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise legions, listen up. Get into the battle formation and prepare to fight the demon god race. After receiving Di Shitian's order, Kai Hua and the others obeyed and came to Chen Shi's side. During this period of time, they had been quietly cultivating. Under the rich heaven and earth essence chi of the demon realm, the 4 legions had all broken through to the second transformation of demon core. The commanders of the legions had reached the peak of the 3rd transformation of demon core. They were only a step away from the 4th transformation. They had witnessed the scene of Di Shitian being sealed. Every one of them was filled with the desire to take revenge and wipe away the humiliation. "We obey the demon empress order." Kai Hua spat out 2 streaks of scarlet flames from his nostrils and suddenly rose to his feet. He and the other commanders agreed. With a wave of his hand, the 4 legions immediately sprang into action and got into formation. They were going to condense the bodies of the 4 divine beasts to fight the demon god. Creak, 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 in the void, in the tunnel, terrifying cries were constantly transmitted. One could vaguely see another world in the tunnel. It was filled with boundless violence. Extremely dense demonic chi spewed out of the tunnel like a geyser. The breathing of the demonic beasts could be clearly heard. The pressure that filled the void was even more domineering. Bang, bang, bang. In the Linglong treasure pagoda, Di Shitian had already stepped onto the stairway to heaven. In the blink of an eye, he had stepped onto the stairway to heaven. The pressure was almost tangible, like a giant grindstone, madly crushing down. The space outside Sakra's body was actually distorting under the pressure, which was abnormally terrifying. Under the black robe, the muscles all over his body undulated like dragons. It was filled with explosive power. The pressure from the 5th stairway to heaven could even crush a mountain. If it was a Yarrow Core 6th refinement stage cultivator, there was a high chance that they would be blasted off the stairway to heaven. They would roll down in a sorry state. Roar. Dharma idol appeared. A domineering roar that sounded like a dragon or a tiger came from behind. 36 lifelike Dharma idols danced wildly around him, stirring up the void. Vast power was emitted from the Dharma idols. "Power of Dharma idols, condense into my body." Di Shitian shouted. Instantly, the 36 Dharma idols roared, and a vast amount of power poured into the demon god's body. In that instant, he felt that the power in his body was expanding at an unimaginable speed. Boom, boom, boom. The aura emitted from the demon god's body caused the space around him to distort violently. His power rose in an instant. Peak of the ancient demon king. Great demon. Peak of the great demon. In a few breaths' time, without any external help, his power rose to the peak of the great demon king's body with just the power of his Dharma idols. My monthly votes are in short supply. Someone actually spent them. I'm going crazy. Brothers, monthly votes. Use your monthly votes. I'm going all out. Let's see if I can make it to the 4th chapter today. 1st chapter delivered. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. I support the author. I support the original reading. Chapter 596. I've been pushed out of the monthly votes list. Brothers, try your best to get up there. I'm going to do my best. Give me motivation. Rumble. The aura emitted from the demon body blocked the pressure exerted on his body. He lifted his foot and stepped forward. The power of a great demon directly suppressed the entire stairway. The pressure of the stairway was targeted at ancient demon kings who had undergone 6 transformations. Who would have thought that he would encounter such a fierce existence like Di Shitian? Others would only start to condense Dharma Laksana when they were great demons, but he started to condense it when he was a demon king. He even condensed 36 of them. He started to form the immortal body when he was a demon saint, and now he had the indestructible skeleton. All kinds of supernatural powers were countless times stronger than ordinary demon kings. Stepping on the stairway, he was full of majesty, like an emperor who was ascending to the royal court. Every step was like a tiger. Boom. After displaying the Dharma Laksana, the stairway could no longer stop him. He stepped on the top of the stairway in an instant. The vast pressure outside his body also disappeared in the blink of an eye. At the same time, a strong warning sounded in his mind, and his blood boiled violently. A sudden impulse. Di Shitian was about to take advantage of the situation to blast open the door of the sixth heaven, but the sudden warning in his body that seemed to come from the dark made his movements suddenly stop. He couldn't help but frown slightly, and his heart became more serious than ever. Something big is happening outside. Almost instantly, a thought appeared in his mind. A sudden impulse could be said to be a direct indication of a cultivator. It was a sign that was often closely related to one's own affairs. If it was not oneself, it was a close relationship with one's own family. It may only appear when one is about to encounter some kind of great danger. Could it be that she has encountered some kind of danger? Di Shitian's thoughts turned quickly. No, mother-in-law is the Yarou divine mother of the demon realm. Her cultivation is directly in the heavenly demon realm. Shi's status in the demon realm can be said to be a princess. If there is no accident, it is impossible for him to encounter any danger. All kinds of thoughts appeared in his mind like lightning. However, at this moment, he still scratched his head and couldn't find any information. Whoosh! At this moment, two divine lights, one black and one white, broke through the sky and rushed into the fifth layer of heaven. After they landed, the silhouettes of Tian Can and Huang Quan appeared. When he saw Di Shitian standing at the top of the heavenly staircase, he quickly said, "Your Majesty, the demonic gods are invading again. They have started the fiendish demon battlefield." A large number of demonic gods are currently traversing the ancient void to arrive. Back then, Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor left a message saying that he would hand His Majesty over to the blazing sky demon. His Majesty, I'm afraid the demon god that came this time will not be good for His Majesty. Heavenly Silkworm Huang Quan said worriedly. The demon god clan? So fast. The radiance in Sakra's eyes shot out 3 feet away. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. Good. 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 You've come at the right time. Back then, this seat had said that when I escaped, I wanted the demon god clan's demon blood to soar and flesh to cover the ground. Now that the myriad demon city has been built, I want to welcome its birth with endless rain of blood. His expression was unusually cold. 5-finger demonic mountain? This time, he was going to topple this demonic mountain. Heavenly Silkworm, Huang Quan, this old servant is here. Immediately return to the myriad demon city and inform all the demons in the Linglong treasure pagoda to enter the ancient city, Di Shitian said immediately. Yes. At this moment, the demons in the pagoda, including the spirit beasts in the first level of heaven, had all transformed and condensed their inner cores, allowing them to take human form. Now, almost all the demons in the pagoda were small demons that had condensed into human form. If not for the demonic aura on their bodies, they were almost no different from humans. This was the foundation of the myriad demon city in the future. How's the refining of the lightning gathering tower? Hearing about refining, Heavenly Silkworm's eyes lit up and he said excitedly, Your Majesty, the lightning gathering tower evolved from the Sky Thunder platform. The refining method is not difficult. The most important item is the Sky Thunder stone. Although there are Sky Thunder stones in the Imperial Treasure Vault, there are not many of them, only 100. We can refine 100 lightning gathering towers. We've already started refining them. The body of the tower was refined with divine crystals, which could make it difficult to destroy. It could also grow in tandem with the ancient city. Once refined, it would be a weapon of war. Good. Di Shitian's face turned cold and he said, Once the lightning gathering tower is refined, put the eternal divine thunder from the eternal kingdom in the god-perishing abyss. I want to let the demon god have a taste of the power of the eternal divine thunder. The eternal divine thunder contained the power of time. Back then, it was swallowed by Dao Tai and sent into the pagoda, where it condensed into divine thunder and was stored in the Imperial Treasure Vault. There were a lot of them, a total of 100 million. Every single one of them contained boundless power. They could easily kill a greater demon if they were thrown out. This was the divine thunder that erupted from the eternal kingdom. The sixth level of heaven, open for me. Di Shitian turned and faced the ancient pagoda door. The emperor's seal formed in his hand. In addition to the power of his Dharma power, he slapped out. He used the power of his Dharma power to rush up the stairway. Once the power of his Dharma power was exhausted, if he wanted to use it again, he would have to wait for his Dharma power to recover. It would take 10 days to half a month for him to use it again. He wanted to take this opportunity to blast open the door. Creak creak. Di Shitian's action was too fierce. The heavy pagoda door made a series of dull sounds as it was pushed open inch by inch. The moment the door opened, a strong surge of primordial chi rushed out. It was invigorating. The muscles on his arms kept moving and the explosive power exuded a masculine aura. Bang! The pagoda door was pushed open domineeringly. The scene in front of him changed and he entered the sixth level of heaven in an instant. The moment he entered, he could acutely feel that the time here was reversed and changed again. From 200 times in the fifth level of heaven to 250 times. 1 year in the outside world would be 250 years in here. Look, there's a pagoda in front. Ming's sharp eyes instantly saw the pagoda in this world. Di Shitian moved and quickly appeared in front of the pagoda. With a glance, 4 mysterious words appeared on the pagoda: exquisite treasure vault. It's exquisite treasure vault. The treasures left behind by Ziyu. An indescribable excitement surged in his heart as he looked at the treasure vault in front of him. It looked like a pagoda outside, but there were only 3 levels. This meant that the treasure vault in front of him was indeed the one that he had personally entered back then. The name of the treasure vault was Exquisite Treasure Vault. Furthermore, the door to the Linglong's treasury was actually wide open. As long as he took a few steps forward, he would be able to step into the treasure vault and obtain a huge amount of precious wealth. This was the capital left behind by the demon race in ancient times for their descendants. It was the foundation for a comeback. It was the family property left behind by their ancestor. No matter who it was, if they obtained this wealth, it would not be difficult to change the declining situation of the demon race. Quick! Go in and take a look. Back then, I had not followed you and had not entered the treasure vault, but there must be a huge amount of treasures inside. This is not only Ziyu's collection, but also the treasures left behind by the demon race from ancient times. There are many things that only existed in the primordial era. Who knows, we might be able to find some precious primordial era treasures. Nether cried out in anticipation. He urged. Di Shitian was also curious. Something that Ziyu collected was definitely not an ordinary treasure. Patter. With steady steps, he walked into the treasure vault with a majestic gait. In the treasure vault, there was no door to block him, so he easily entered the treasure vault. Swoosh. However, the moment he entered the treasure vault, what appeared in front of him was not the countless treasures that he had imagined. Thousands of treasure lights, and the scenery in front of him changed drastically. Suddenly, he appeared in an empty space. The surroundings were colorful and gorgeous. At first glance, it seemed to be only a few 100 feet wide, but when he looked again, it seemed to be boundless. It was a fantasy. What's going on? Could it be that the treasure vault is fake? Di Shitian's expression did not change, but a strong sense of danger rose in his heart. The imperial shocking book in his body was activated to the extreme, and the imperial true force appeared in every inch of his body. In the demon residence, the 7th grade black lotus was spinning violently. It was swallowing a large amount of primal chi around it. He looked around. His right hand had already appeared at the position where it was easiest to hold the tiger soul. This is Ling Long's treasure vault. It's not fake. Just as he was doubting, the surrounding divine light flickered, and a slender purple figure appeared in front of him. That figure was curvaceous and exquisite. It could be said that if she gained a little weight, she would be fat, and if she lost a little weight, she would be skinny. There was no flaw. Looking at this figure, Di Shitian's eyes suddenly widened. Ziyu. The woman in purple turned around, and a very ordinary appearance appeared in front of him. Her appearance was very ordinary. She could only be considered delicate and pretty, at the level of a pretty girl from a humble family. At first glance, She was unremarkable and very ordinary. However, at second glance, her appearance became very hazy. There was an indescribable beauty to her. After a few more glances, he only saw a kind of mystery on her face. He could not even remember her appearance in his mind. Ziyu. Heavenly demon Ziyu. Di Shitian had only seen such a situation on Ziyu. Moreover, with this appearance, even if another 10,000 years passed, he would definitely not forget it. It was so deep in his memory that it could not be repeated. 6 transformation demon core, condensed Dharma form, and half an immortal body. Divine ability turned into talismans, and Emperor's chi condensed. You really did not disappoint me. A strange light flashed in Ziyu's eyes. She slowly said a sentence, and actually revealed more than half of Di Shitian's background. She could see the truth at a glance. Her eyesight was really sharp. Why are you here? As soon as Di Shitian said this, it was too late to take it back. This question was really meaningless. After all, whether it was the Linglong treasure pagoda or Linglong's treasure vault, they all belonged to Ziyu. Ziyu smiled faintly. Her eyes seemed to be able to see through one's mind. She said calmly, "Don't worry, what's here is just a trace of my primordial spirit. The meaning of my existence here is just to wait for your arrival. This Linglong's treasure vault is also left for you to strengthen the demon race. Once you inherit the treasure vault, I will naturally dissipate and leave. The things here have long been useless to me. I saw the advertisement today. The price of salt is rising, and everyone is rushing to buy salt, saying that it can prevent radiation. Where the hell did this come from? It's just nonsense. There's no need to believe these rumors. There's also no need to panic. Treat it rationally. This is the usual method of salt sellers. For a very simple example, salt comes from the sea. Salt can prevent radiation. There's a lot of salt in the sea, so how can the sea be contaminated? To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com, support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 597. Third update. Brothers, where are the monthly tickets? I'll start writing the 4th chapter now. Everyone, give me some motivation. Back then, I left the heavenly demon secret realm behind for 2 reasons. First, it was for the demon clan to pass on. Second, it was to choose a king for the demon clan. Therefore, I set up the path of reflection. Since you can pass the test, it means that you have the potential to become a king. However, you were able to achieve your current achievements in such a short period of time just by relying on the Linglong Treasure Pagoda's ability to reverse time. You are indeed a peerless genius with great luck. Ziyu spoke leisurely. She was not stingy with her praise for Di Shitian's achievements. These were not empty words. The most precious thing she had given him was this Linglong Treasure Pagoda. The cultivation method of reversing time was enough to eliminate the gap between countless years and close the gap between experts. However, the real treasures that could increase the speed of cultivation were all in this Linglong treasure house. There were all kinds of elixirs that could assist in cultivation, all kinds of heavenly treasures, and spiritual essences of heaven and earth. If he could obtain them and use the elixirs to assist in his cultivation speed would definitely increase by more than 10 times. Therefore, the real treasures that could help him reach the peak and become a peerless expert, a supreme demon god, were all in here. Previously, it was just a test. If he could not cultivate to the greater demon realm without the help of elixirs, it meant that he was not qualified to obtain this huge wealth. What you mean is that it's only now that I truly have the qualifications to obtain the treasure vault that you left behind. Sakra's mind turned and he completely understood the implied meaning in Ziyu's words. Wrong. Ziyu shook her head gently and said indifferently, you only have the qualifications. However, whether you can obtain the endless treasures in the treasure house or not. It depends on whether you have the potential and comprehension to reach the peak and become a peerless expert, a demon god. From this, it could be seen that the person she wanted to cultivate was not an ordinary king, but an ancient demon god, a peerless expert, a peak expert between heaven and earth. A king. A king without strength was a tiger without claws and fangs. What was the use of such a king? Only a true expert could make the demon clan rise. How can I be considered qualified? Di Shitian did not back down and took a step forward. His body was brimming with a dense battle intent, and the aura of an emperor circled around him. His might was boundless. He stared intently at Ziyu's eyes with a threatening gaze. An ordinary woman's eyes would have been blinded, but Purple Moon only had a calm expression. It was like a cool breeze caressing his face. Defeat yourself. Defeat myself? Di Shitian was slightly stunned. He was shocked by Ziyu's words. As a powerful expert, Violet Moon said softly, you can defeat one powerful enemy after another. You can rise from your humble beginnings. You can fight heaven, earth, and fate. These were all the prerequisites to becoming a powerhouse. In this world, the most difficult thing is never to defeat a powerful enemy, but to defeat oneself. To surpass oneself is to transcend. If you can surpass yourself, then you have already transcended yourself. If you can even surpass yourself, then what can't you surpass in this world? Ziyu looked meaningfully at Di Shitian and said, so, this time, your opponent is yourself. What should I do? Di Shitian's heart was filled with a strong battle intent. His black hair danced wildly behind his head, and his aura soared into the sky like smoke. Yes, defeating others was only an affirmation of one's strength, but to defeat oneself was to surpass oneself. One could clearly recognize one's own strength. That kind of pleasure was even more intense. Look here. Ziyu stretched out her hand and gently waved it around. Di Shitian looked around. In front of him was still that strange void. The surroundings were grotesque and dazzling, and it was incomparably fantastical and beautiful. What was even stranger was that he could not sense the outside world. This is called the everlasting illusion. Ziyu pointed below her feet and said, in this everlasting illusion, there is boundless fortune. It is a plaything my father left me. Here, a shadow of you will appear. This shadow is yourself. It will have your thoughts, your strength, your divine weapon, your divine ability, and even your everything. What you have, it will have. What you will have, it will also have. How strong you are, it will be as strong. It is another you. Defeating it is the same as defeating yourself. Fighting with one's own shadow, fighting with another you. Fighting with the same divine ability and the same cultivation. In Di Shitian's ears, it was as if a huge wave suddenly rolled up in his heart. You have one chance to make a choice. Ziyu calmly looked at Di Shitian's eyes. After a while, she said indifferently, if you decide to leave, I can send you out of this everlasting illusion. However, you will forever lose the opportunity to obtain the exquisite treasure house. The treasure house will enter the space-time crack and drift in the heavens, waiting for the next person with the opportunity. If you decide to stay, you will face your shadow. In the everlasting illusion, you will not really die, but if you can't defeat your shadow, then you will forever remain in the illusion. You will never be able to leave. Leave, or stay. His words were calm, but they contained a choice that concerned his fate. This question was almost unimaginably heavy. To take a step forward or to take a step back, this choice was extraordinarily heavy. It was not a question of whether or not he could obtain the exquisite treasure house. It was a question of whether or not he could face himself and face himself. The treasures obtained from the Godsfall Abyss were definitely not below the exquisite treasure house in terms of value. He did not care too much about whether or not he could obtain it. However, if he retreated, there would be a shadow in his heart in the future. If he did not dare to face himself, how could he climb to the peak if he could not even face himself? If he advanced, he would fight with his own shadow. If he could not defeat it, he would be trapped in the everlasting illusion forever. It was also a great danger. However, Di Shitian was Di Shitian in the end. His eyes flashed and a look of determination flashed. He stared at Ziyu and said with unusual certainty, I will stay. I will win. These words showed an unparalleled domineering aura and incomparable confidence in himself. That confidence was firm and unshakable. If I want to fight, then I will fight. Being afraid is not my style. Being hesitant is not the style of an emperor. Since I am a man, how can I be afraid of battle? So what if my opponent is me? I am who I am. Only after I transcend will I be my true self. This thought flowed through his mind like a tide. Decisiveness, revealing one's true colors. Good, this is exactly what I want, lunatic Di. If you are hesitant, you might as well be a woman. Ming roared with laughter and said, the infinite illusory realm is a great fortuitous encounter. If you're able to defeat your shadow, then it means that you'll have an extremely clear understanding of your own strength, and you'll be able to grasp it to the peak. Defeating it will be a kind of sublimation for you. This is a great opportunity that others can only dream of. Perhaps one would not feel it when fighting others, but when fighting oneself, one would discover the problem that one usually lacked. Once he corrected it and gained experience, his strength would be greatly improved in an instant. This kind of increase was a kind of sublimation, a kind of complete sublimation. Good. Ziyue's eyes lit up. There was a faint gentleness in her eyes when she looked at him. She nodded and said, whether you fall or transcend, it is all up to you. With a gentle wave of her hand, the scene in front of him suddenly changed. Ziyue's body suddenly turned into countless spots of light and quickly disappeared. It was as if she had never appeared. At the same time, Di Shitian lowered his head and looked at his feet. Below him, his shadow was wriggling strangely. In the blink of an eye, it broke away from his feet and stood up in an instant. Countless pitch-black rays of light quickly gathered in the shadow's body. Slowly, the shadow's blurry face gradually became clear, and its body also became lifelike. In just an instant, another Di Shitian appeared in front of him. On the shadow's body, whether it was the clothes, the face, the tiger soul saber on his back, or the heavenly punishment divine eye between his brows, the aura on his body was no different from that of his original body. This was completely a copy of himself. When he saw the appearance of the shadow with his own eyes, Di Shitian couldn't help but have a strange feeling in his heart. This is another version of myself. Looking at the shadow's body was cold, and there was an indifferent expression on its face. Even its eyes revealed a hint of coldness. It was incomparably deep, as if nothing could stay in its heart. It was truly like an emperor that had existed since ancient times, and only I am supreme. Apart from me, the world is just an ant. Defeat this shadow. You will transcend, and at the same time, the power in the shadow's body will also be yours. After obtaining its power and fusing with it, you will naturally break through to become a big ancient demon. This everlasting illusory realm is also given to you. If you can't defeat it, you will never see the light of day again. Fortune and disaster come together. Whether you are a worm or a tiger, I will wait and see. In the void, Ziyue's indifferent voice slowly echoed. Di Shitian, kill him. Dark crazily shouted. The everlasting illusory realm. This was the benefit of the everlasting illusory realm. If one could obtain it, it would be a supreme treasure in the 1,000-demon city in the future. One could send subordinates with potential to cultivate in it. When they defeated themselves, they could also break through to the next realm. It was definitely an immeasurable supreme treasure. Those experts who were stuck at a bottleneck would go crazy over it. It was the best place to break through a bottleneck. What was the heavenly demon's treasure? This illusory realm was the real treasure. Extreme Emperor the Arch-Seal, God-Fiend Seal. Suppress it for me. Di Shitian's heart burned with passion. He instantly formed a seal with his hands, and a vast amount of God-Fiend power condensed into a huge ancient seal. It expanded with the wind and suppressed shadow. However, the shadow also formed a seal, and its speed was even faster than his. When Di Shitian's ancient seal formed, the shadow's Emperor the Arch-Seal appeared above his head and suppressed him. It collided with the God-Fiend seal and was annihilated at the same time. Clang! A resplendent saber mark flashed across the void. Sakura only felt a touch of coldness on his neck. His eyes were looking at his back. I've been killed. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com and read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 598. The fourth update has been delivered. The eruption is over. Everyone, please spend 2 monthly votes. I am in urgent need of monthly votes. I will see if I can continue to erupt tomorrow and let my passion continue. Daisha Tian's head flew high up into the air and was thrown backwards. A dazzling saber light slashed across his neck. Tiger Soul. His head was cut off by the shadow's Tiger Soul in an instant. This slash came too fast. It was so fast that it couldn't be faster. It was faster than lightning. He didn't even have the chance to react. Bang! His body fell to the ground and was instantly cut into pieces by the saber aura. The Tiger Soul had been promoted to an Earth-rank demon weapon. Its sharpness was so sharp that it could even kill the undying body. It was extremely domineering and terrifying. Naturally, even his undying bones couldn't stop it. Swoosh! His body was shattered. Suddenly, it seemed to be reassembled. The originally fragmented demon body strangely reassembled thousands of feet away under an inexplicable force. Daisha Tian, who was killed by a single slash, recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. His head grew back again. His entire body was exactly the same as before. There was no difference at all. He actually came back from the dead and was resurrected. I was actually killed in an instant. Daisha Tian came back to life. His eyes flashed with a strange seriousness. In just an instant, he completely smelled the scent of death. Fast, too fast. He was actually killed so easily in just a blink of an eye. Ever since he stepped on the path of cultivation, he had almost never felt this way. At that moment, he really felt that he was already dead. That helplessness of falling into darkness was something that even gods would fear. With the same cultivation, the same weapon, the same cultivation method, and the same divine ability, I was actually killed in an instant when fighting with my own shadow. Furthermore, it was with the simplest saber technique. In his hands, the most ordinary saber technique could break through my divine ability and unleash unimaginable power. In an instant, Daisha Tian clearly felt how terrifying his own shadow was. In an instant, he also clearly saw his own flaws. Simple moves, but they could unleash unparalleled killing power. This was already the realm of returning to nature. I have many god powers, and each of them is a powerful technique. The Extreme King Emperor's Way, the Extreme King Emperor's Print, the Seven Sins Song, the God's Punishment God Eye, and the Tiger's Raw Sonic Wave. However, he had yet to fully comprehend the essence of these abilities and integrate them into his every move. His speed is not as fast as Shadow's, and his ability to grasp opportunities is not as sharp as Shadow's. If I had used the Fiend God Seal instead of pausing, I wouldn't have been killed so easily. Xiao Chen slowly closed his eyes, and a strange comprehension quickly appeared in his mind. The moment he was killed, he realized where his problem lay. This was the difference between him and the Shadow. The Shadow had mastered all of those mystiques and cultivation methods. He had already reached the pinnacle of mastery. He could use all kinds of techniques with ease. Even the most ordinary of saber techniques could unleash shocking power. All of his divine abilities could be unleashed to their limits. Although they had the same level of cultivation, the Shadow was much more powerful than him. Again, after a while, Daisha Tian's closed eyes suddenly opened. He roared and took a step forward. With a twist of his wrist, the tiger's soul was unsheathed. Without any fancy moves, the saber drew a bright saber light in the air. Its sharpness was restrained, and it slashed out. At the same time, an ancient seal was formed in his hand. The Fiend God seal was held in his hand, but it was not released. Clang! The Shadow also moved instantly. The saber in his hand drew a strange arc light and slashed out again. At the same time, he moved his feet slightly and turned his body. In a split second, he dodged Daisha Tian's short-kill attack. His body shook, and thousands of demonic aura gushed out from countless pores all over his body. In an instant, it condensed into a crescent-shaped pitch-black saber. Demonic Mist Blade. The demonic mist blade came extremely quickly. When Di Shitian saw it, he immediately released the fiend god seal above his head. Countless fiend gods rushed out from the ancient seal to protect him. Roar. He opened his mouth and took a deep breath. When he opened his mouth, a domineering tiger's roar swept out like a tide. Countless ripples appeared in the void. It swayed on the terrifying saber light. It was crushed. Swoosh. However, at this moment, the heavenly punishment divine eye opened between the shadow's brows. A ray of annihilation divine light blasted out and blasted the head into smithereens. Di Shitian died again. Di Shitian revived under the power of the Wuji illusory land. He closed his eyes and recalled the scene just now in his mind, learning every flaw in it. After a long while, he opened his eyes and shouted. Then, he attacked the shadow again. Rumble. In the fight, an ancient seal fell and killed Di Shitian for the third time. However, Sakura wasn't discouraged in the slightest. Every time he died, he would always replay the scene of his battle countless times in his mind to find his own flaws. He would understand why he died. He would learn from the experience, learn from the lesson, and then fight again. He died in the shadow's hands again and again, but he was not discouraged and fearless. He charged again. Every time he died and fought with the shadow again, the battle skills in his hands would change drastically. We have the same cultivation method, the same divine ability. There's no reason why I can't do what the shadow can do. Not only do I have to do it, I have to do it better. Di Shitian's eyes were filled with determination. The shadow was too terrifying. It was a perfect killing machine. His grasp of timing was impeccable. TSK, lunatic DI, this is an opportunity. As long as you can defeat your shadow here, your battle skills will be promoted to an unimaginable realm. You can take this opportunity to completely merge your battle skills into one and perfectly integrate them with yourself. With the simplest battle skills, you can unleash power comparable to a peerless ultimate technique. This is your opportunity to transform into a butterfly. When Dark saw Sakura's figure falling in front of the shadow again and again, he wasn't worried at all. Instead, he shouted excitedly, "You have to learn how to use every bit of power in your body, how to unleash the greatest power with every bit of power, how to use the most ordinary means to produce the ability to kill. As for the use of power and the use of combat skills, I can't teach you these. However, your shadow is the most suitable guide for you in this world. Strength, the grasp of strength. Using the smallest amount of strength to unleash the greatest power." Di Shitian's eyes shone brightly. He hungrily absorbed every bit of experience, filling his body and increasing his strength. Every time he saw the shadow display a combat skill, he would have a strong feeling as if he had seen the bright moon after dispersing the clouds. If your comprehension is extraordinary. In the depths of the Wuji illusion, Ziyu quietly watched Di Shitian fight with his shadow again and again. A strange light flashed in her eyes. Although it was Di Shitian who fell every time, she could clearly see that Di Shitian was like a dry sponge, crazily absorbing every bit of nutrients. Every time he fell and was reborn, he would definitely become stronger. This rate of growth was definitely not an ordinary kind of terrifying. Back then, I divided my primordial spirit into 9 and threw it into reincarnation. I wanted to use the power of reincarnation to make up for the incomplete spirit, turning one body into 9 bodies. Now, when the immeasurable tribulation arrives, it's time for me to return. Ziyu looked at the void thoughtfully. She was only a wisp of Ziyu's primordial spirit left behind, but it was no different from the original body. She could clearly feel the original body's situation. Immeasurable tribulation, become immortal. She softly spat out a sentence. Without saying anything else, she turned to watch the battle in the illusion again. Quick, quick. Place the lightning-gathering towers. Eternal divine thunder, transport the eternal divine thunder. Every lightning-gathering tower must put in 10,000 eternal divine thunder. Those who know formations and restrictions, immediately send the restrictions into the city. The divine crystal is extraordinary. Any restriction can be integrated into it. Unleash its power. His Majesty is about to blast open the demon mountain with the ancient city. This is the moment of our demon city's emergence. We must make the heavens and the myriad worlds tremble. In the demon city, the group of demons nervously prepared, and there were busy figures everywhere. However, on the faces of the demons, there was a look of joy and yearning. With the demon city, they had a true refuge. The demon clan was no longer rootless duckweed. Their rise in the future was just around the corner. Next, it was the time for the demon clan to make their first call to the myriad worlds. How could they not put in effort? As soon as they emerged, they would suppress the myriad worlds and deter countless powerhouses. They also shared in the glory. Boom! Boom! In the void, terrifying demonic roars continuously reverberated from the huge tunnel. The speed at which the demonic aura gushed out became faster and denser. The demonic aura was getting closer and closer. The attack of the demon god clan was rapidly approaching. Roar! Howl! On the ancient fiendish demon battlefield. In the void, the four great mythical beasts shuttled back and forth between the clouds. The huge bodies of the mythical beasts exuded a vast aura that shook the space. Great demons, the peak of the great demons. The mythical beasts formed by the four great armies had the strength of the peak of the great demons. With the power of the mythical beasts, their combat power could be even more powerful. In particular, the aura of the mythical beasts was naturally exuded. The aura was overwhelming. Below, 8 million demon kings were lined up. Although there was no formation, the fierce aura exuding from each demon king was enough to shake the stars. It shook the heavens. Every demon king's essence, energy, and spirit had reached a peak. With a touch, they would be able to unleash unparalleled destructive power. In front of the 8 million demon kings, a man shrouded in black fog looked coldly at the tunnel. He exuded an evil aura. He licked his lips and said coldly, "Good timing. I haven't had enough of the souls of these demon bastards the last time. Now that they're here, I'm going to eat my fill." Ghost chariot. Hulusi looked at the man shrouded in black fog and frowned. The attack of the demon gods this time is no small matter. Don't be reckless. Don't be ambushed. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidyen.com, support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 599. Ghost Chariot was the only demon saint expert in the fiendish demon battlefield. His ability was extremely strange. He specialized in devouring souls. He had an extraordinary background. In ancient times, he was also known as the nine-headed phoenix. He was also known as the nine-headed bird. He was crimson in color and looked like a duck. The largest one had a wingspan of more than 10 feet. He loved to enter people's souls. There was also a saying that the nine-headed bird was once a dog and often dripped blood. The blood-dripping bird had a vicious crime. It was a vicious bird from ancient times. It loved to devour souls. Wherever it passed, a sinister wind would blow. It was like a chariot with 9 heads. In ancient times, it fed on countless ferocious beast souls. It was absolutely terrifying. It could devour souls to increase its cultivation. It had a sinister aura. Even many demons were afraid of it. Don't worry, Lord Hulusi. I, Ghost Chariot, have been on the battlefield for so many years. It's not my first time dealing with these demons. Even if the Fiend Celestials come with a vengeance, with the 3 of you here, they won't be able to do much as long as the Fiend Celestial continent doesn't invade on a large scale, Ghost Chariot said nonchalantly. However, his hatred for the Fiend Celestials was no less than that of any other demon. No one would be in a good mood if they were used as a whetstone to sharpen the skills of the other party's descendants. Furthermore, over the years in the Fiend world, countless peerless geniuses of the Fiend race had died on the fiendish demon battlefield. The number of experts was even greater. Even heavenly fiends had fallen one after another. Up until now, only these were left. The blood debt of the Fiend Celestials could no longer be washed away. They had truly reached the point of irreconcilable differences. No matter what, the Fiend Celestials will definitely be more arrogant this time. Their attack will be much stronger than before. With 8 million demon kings at the front and 30 million lesser demons at the back, we have to block this attack no matter what. We have to suppress the Fiend Celestial's arrogance, Blissful Boy said coldly. Rumble. Rumble. At this moment, the terrifying rumbling of carriages and horses could be heard from the huge tunnel. It was continuous and connected together, as if a flood had broken through a dam and was rolling in. The sky was filled with the sound of thunder. That's the Abyss Chariot. Hearing the dense galloping sound, the pupils of Hu Luzi and the others couldn't help but violently contract. Xie Sanyang opened her cherry lips and couldn't help but let out a cry of surprise. A cautious expression appeared on his face. The Abyss Chariot is a mount that only demon gods who have reached the realm of the Sky Demon can possess. The chariot, the Abyss Chariot, only appeared during the first great demon war between the demon world and the demon god continent. The moment they appeared, there were 30 of them. They killed 4 of our heavenly demons on the spot. Countless other experts were killed or injured. After that, the Abyss War Chariot had not appeared for 10,000 years. This time, the Fiend Celestial clan is out to exterminate us. Gord Luz's face had turned completely dark, and his murderous aura was gushing out like a geyser. On the demon god continent, the Abyss Chariot was a symbol of status and strength. Those who owned it were all experts who had reached the level of Sky Demon. Judging from the dense galloping of carriages, there was definitely more than one heavenly demon-level demon god traversing through the void from the tunnel. Coming at this time, it was obvious that they wanted to exterminate all the demons in the demon world. Thoroughly exterminating all of them. Damn it, this is bad. Blissful Boy clenched his small fists and said angrily, those human hypocrites, despicable villains. They actually sealed the demon world, allowing entry but not exit. Now, it's too late even if we want to evacuate the rest of the juniors. Thinking of what the human Dao ancestors had done in the demon world, he couldn't help but rage. He couldn't stop the flames of anger in his heart. Now that the demon world was sealed, it was impossible to evacuate even if they wanted to. The human race had completely cut off all their escape routes. TMPH, if the Fiend Celestial clan really wants to exterminate us, then we'll have to leave. If the Fiend Celestial clan really wants to kill us, then we'll have to take out that supreme treasure that our ancient ancestor spent countless efforts to refine. We'll fight them to the death. Gord Luz's face was filled with murderous aura, and a grim expression tugged at the corners of his mouth. You're talking about that supreme treasure. Xie Sanyang's eyes lit up, but they dimmed in the blink of an eye. She said, but isn't that supreme treasure still lacking in maturity and hasn't been completely nurtured? If we take it out by force, I'm afraid our plan to nurture the carnate spiritual treasure will be ruined. The blood and sweat of countless ancestors of our demon race will be destroyed in a single day. There was deep hesitation in his words. That's right. In the ancient times, carnate spiritual treasures were born from the heavens and earth, and they fell from the chaos. There were very few of them, and each of them contained supreme power. However, the rarest of them all were carnate spiritual embryos. Our demon race dominated the ancient times and swept through the heavens, but we've only obtained 3 of them. The first one was refined into a demon summoning banner. The second one evolved into the deity heaven stabilizing bell. As for the third one, it has always been placed in the demon world, nourished by the flesh and blood of Fiend Celestials and devil souls. It hasn't reached the point of completion yet. We can't destroy a carnate spiritual treasure that's about to be nurtured until the very end, Blissful Boy said with a serious expression. Gord Luzi was decisive. He said coldly, these 3 carnate spiritual embryos were originally obtained by our demon race. Even if they're nurtured into carnate spiritual treasures, they should belong to us demons. If the demon world is destroyed today, what's the point of obtaining carnate spiritual treasures? Roar. Roar. Just as they were talking, the tunnel in the void suddenly expanded violently, and a huge shadow rushed out of the tunnel. The Abyss Chariot. Gord Luzi and Xie Sanyang couldn't help but blurt out at the same time. They looked up and saw a pitch-black chariot a few hundred feet long hovering in the void in front of the tunnel. There were countless images of Fiend Celestials on the chariot. Countless Fiend Celestials appeared on the surface of the chariot, spewing out endless demonic mist. As soon as they appeared, they exuded a terrifying power that suppressed all directions. In front of the chariot were 9 Fiend Celestial dragons pulling the chariot, letting out thunderous dragon roars. The Fiend Celestial dragon was also terrifying. It had the slender and noble body of an Eastern divine dragon, and a pair of pitch-black dragon wings on its back. Dense black dragon scales covered its entire body. The Fiend Celestial dragon's demonic chi was blazing, and its draconic aura was vast and mighty. Each Fiend Celestial dragon's strength was comparable to that of a peak great demon. Together with the chariot, they could really suppress the entire world. On the chariot stood a 1,000-foot Fiend Celestial with 8 Fiend Celestial arms. This obvious characteristic was the symbol of the 8-armed Fiend Celestial clan. Each of its 8 arms held a Fiend Celestial treasure. Judging from the aura it exuded and the way it distorted the void, there was no doubt that this was a sky demon that was comparable to a heavenly demon. Demons, die. The sky demon scanned the battlefield. When he saw the vast array of demons on the battlefield, a trace of disdain appeared at the corner of his mouth. When he looked at Gord Luzi and the other heavenly demons, a brilliant divine light erupted from his eyes, filled with boundless battle intent and ruthlessness. 3 heavenly demons, good. Very good. I've long heard that there are still heavenly demons among the demons. This time, I'll have a good test of your remarkable power, the sky demon roared. With his body, even if he spoke in a low voice, it was as vast as thunder. Rumble. In the tunnel, there was a roar, and another abyss chariot rushed out. Pulling the chariot were also 9 Fiend Celestial dragons. On the chariot, there was also an 8-armed sky demon. He coldly swept his gaze around and roared, "A mere demon realm dares to harm the descendant of a great emperor? You deserve death. This time, I want the entire demon realm to be exterminated." That enraged roar reverberated through the skies. Sure enough, the great Fiend Celestial war that happened every 100 years would start again in a year. It was not to train the descendants of the Fiend Celestial clan, but to completely flatten the demon realm. All living beings would be wiped out. It came to vent its anger. Rumble. Rumble. The edge of the tunnel shook violently. Vast Fiend Celestial might spread out. Suddenly, a huge object rushed out of the tunnel. As soon as it came out, it covered a large area of the sky. Judging from its size, it was at least a few 100,000 feet in size. Abyss Battle Island. The pupils of Hu Gord and the others shrank violently. They looked at the huge object floating in the air. It was a gigantic black floating island. There were countless restrictions on the island, and there were many huge Fiend Celestials standing there. At a glance, there were no less than 100,000 Fiend Celestials, and all of them were 8-armed Fiend Celestials with 8 arms. The Fiend Celestials' violent auras were enough to shake the void. Dong, dong, dong. On the Abyss Battle Island, there was a pitch-black war drum. This war drum was several 100 feet in size, and countless mysterious Fiend Celestial runes appeared on its surface. On the war drum, there was a layer of small scales densely packed together. The scales naturally exuded a terrifying deterrent force that made people unable to move. Their hearts trembled with fear. A huge Fiend Celestial held 8 drumsticks in his hands and hit the war drum heavily. An earth-shattering clap of thunder erupted in the void. It was like countless terrifying Fiend Celestial dragons roared at the same time. Rings of pitch-black waves spread out in all directions like a tide. Everywhere they passed, space distorted. Pu. 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 This drumbeat was truly tyrannical. All the Fiend Celestials felt like countless terrifying thunderclaps were going off in their minds. Their heads were about to explode, and their minds were in great turmoil. Their chi and blood surged, and they felt very uncomfortable. Their bodies were about to shatter into countless pieces. The Fiend Celestials were still fine. However, the small Fiend Celestials who had not reached the Fiend Celestial King realm all turned pale. They could not help but vomit mouthfuls of blood. Their spirits were immediately dispirited, and their Fiend Celestials fell limp to the ground. When that demonic drum beat, 30 million small Fiend Celestials instantly lost their ability to fight. The Fiend Celestial might was unstoppable. Roar! Roar! Countless Fiend Celestial beasts roared and charged out of the tunnel with bloodshot eyes. They were like a geyser, endless. In an instant, a terrifying sea of Fiend Celestials gathered on the Fiend Celestial battlefield. Their roars echoed in the air above the battlefield. The Fiend Celestials' side suppressed the Fiend Celestials, gaining the upper hand. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidien.com. There are more chapters. I support the author. I support the original reading. Chapter 600. It's almost at the 600th chapter. I'm feeling a little emotional. The demon god's power descended upon the void, overlooking all living beings. Like a deity in the heavens, the vast power was about to envelop the entire demon realm. The war drums beat, causing 30 million small demons to lose their ability to fight at the same time, giving the demon race a huge show of strength. From the murderous aura, it was clear that the demon god clan was not here to train their troops, but to wipe out the demon realm. Moreover, demonic beasts poured out of the tunnel in an endless stream, but they did not immediately attack. Instead, they divided into different clans and gathered together. There were also abyss war chariots that crossed over. One after another, they came down one after another. In the blink of an eye, there were 12 war chariots shrouded in boundless demonic power above the abyss war island. 12 war chariots, 12 sky demon. This power was enough to completely wipe out the entire demon realm. Moreover, all of them were from the lower demon god clans of the demon god continent, the 8-armed demon god. There were no other demon gods. Above the lower demon gods, there were middle demon gods, upper demon god clans, and even the legendary demon god imperial clan that stood at the peak of the demon gods. The higher the rank of a demon god, the more terrifying their strength was. They had all kinds of incredible magical powers. Even the demon soul of a lower demon god would tremble in front of an upper demon god. However, even if it was just a lower demon god clan, the power gathered was strong enough to wipe out the demon realm in one fell swoop. The 12 sky demon clans. Who could be sure that there was no unparalleled demon emperor among them? The sound of the demonic drums rang out like raindrops, covering the entire demon realm. Not only the underground world, but even the surface was filled with the sound of the drums. The sound waves surged on the world's crystal walls, creating countless ripples. Traces of pure demonic aura seeped out of the demon realm. The demon realm was the world at the top of the myriad worlds. The world was so stable that it stood at the top of the myriad worlds. Although it was sealed by the human race, it was still the focal point of the myriad worlds. As soon as the traces of demonic aura seeped out, it immediately alarmed some terrifying old monsters in the myriad worlds. Especially among the human race, several Tao ancestor-level peerless powerhouses opened their eyes almost simultaneously. The demonic chi in the demon realm is so thick. Several tyrannical divine wills directly traversed the countless voids and directly entered the demon world. Moreover, none of the demons in the demon world detected them. He swept his gaze over them. In an instant, he found all the information. His divine sense withdrew from the demon realm and gathered in the supreme void. They began to converse using their divine wills. The demon god's channel in the spirit realm has been completely opened. The demon god is invading the spirit realm, and 12 sky demon have come. It seems like they want to destroy the entire spirit realm in one fell swoop. The Oblivion Tide has yet to arrive, so the passage between the origin continent and the demon god continent has yet to be fully opened. The demon gods are unable to invade the origin world on a large scale. It seems that they only want to destroy the demon realm. In the future, it might become a springboard for the demon god clan's invasion. We have to be on our guard. Leaving the Fey clan alive is ultimately a scourge. Let the demon god exterminate all the Fey clan in the Fey realm and cut off the Fey clan's heritage and foundation. Even if an ancient Fey god were to awaken in the future, without a foundation, he would not be able to stir up any waves. Inform all orthodoxies. After the Fey clan is destroyed, use the divine weapons to suppress the demon god and seal the channel. A few divine senses quickly communicated in the void. Almost in an instant, countless thoughts flashed through their minds. In an instant, they came to a conclusion. After that, the divine senses disappeared. It was as if they had never appeared just now. At this moment, in the sky above a sect in the purple-gold mainland, billowing waves of blood covered the entire sky, enveloping the entire sect in a sea of blood. It's that demon blood god Shwe-Ini. Quick, run. Don't let the blood touch you, or your body will be corroded by it. It's over. Why is that demon Shwe-Ini here? Our smoke cloud sect is doomed this time. Below the blood sea was a sect called the Smoke Cloud Sect. It was a mid-tier sect with hundreds of thousands of disciples. There was even an immortal guarding it. Demon, how dare you invade my smoke cloud sect? Die. In the mountain behind the sect, a beautiful lady stepped on a white cloud and soared into the sky. With a wave of her hand, a huge palm was formed. She was about to smash the sea of blood apart. TSK. She's a beauty. On the sea of blood stood a young man in a blood-red robe. His face was handsome, and one could see the shadow of Shwe-Ini between his brows. With an evil smile on his face, he looked at the beautiful lady below and shook his head. What a pity. She's just an ant. She can't pique my interest. Right after he said those words, crimson silhouettes appeared from the sea of blood. They whizzed down and instantly arrived before the woman. They simply did not give her the slightest chance to react. After they pounced on her, the woman's body instantly turned into a puddle of blood and was completely devoured by the crimson silhouettes. She merged into the sea of blood. The lady's soul turned into a strand of blood-red hair and fell to the back of Shwe-Ini's head. On the strand of hair, one could see the lady's struggling face. However, she couldn't break free and became a strand of hair on Shwe-Ini's back. The sea of blood whizzed down. He passed through the sect. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of thousands of strands of blood flew up and fell to the back of his head, becoming his hair. In the sect, not a single living thing was left alive. Shwe-Ini's ferocity was almost unstoppable. His bizarre demonic arts were truly inconceivable. Standing on the sea of blood, Shwe-Ini scanned the sky with an evil look. There was a strange blood mark between his brows that looked like a twisted tadpole. It made him look even more evil. If not for the fact that I haven't recovered my cultivation from back then, the sea of blood could destroy billions of lives. I wouldn't have to be hunted down by those cultivators just to devour a bit of blood. Shwe-Ini looked at the void behind him. He saw a few black dots on the horizon rushing towards him. He couldn't help but frown slightly. He urged the sea of blood, and the sea of blood suddenly disappeared into the blood mark between his brows. His figure flashed and he hid in the void. He fled into the distance. After traveling hundreds of thousands of kilometers, Shwe-Ini suddenly stopped on a mountain peak. A look of surprise appeared on his face as he raised his head and looked into the boundless void. There was a hint of doubt in his eyes. What a familiar aura. It's demonic chi. It's the aura of the demon god continent. Shwe-Ini's eyes seemed to be able to see through the void. He sharply sensed the demonic chi emanating from the demon realm. After a careful inspection, he couldn't help but say in surprise, this is indeed the pure demonic chi from the demon god continent. Why would it suddenly appear in the source continent? Could it be that the demon god continent is invading the myriad worlds of the source heavens? He couldn't help but frown. A strand of hair slowly swayed in his hand. He muttered, no, the source continent and the demon god continent can only be opened after the tide of annihilation in the chaos. They must be connected. That is the best time. Now is clearly not the time. With such demonic chi, it seems that someone has used a supreme ability to forcibly open the passage between worlds. Interesting. Let's go and see who it is that provoked the demon god to cross worlds. Shwe-Ini smiled evilly. His figure flickered, and he actually flew towards the source of the demonic chi, crossing the void. His figure seemed to be illusory. It was very strange. He wasn't the only one. In a hidden abyss in the Source continent, there was a man with a terrifying demonic palace floating above his head. Waves of demonic chi emerged from the palace and poured into the man's body. The demonic chi roiled and enveloped the entire abyss. Inexplicably, the man opened his eyes and glanced at the void. A cold light flashed in his eyes. After pondering for a while, he closed his eyes again. Roar. In the back mountain of the Qin family's musical valley, the calm lake water of the demon-subduing lake suddenly shook violently. Countless streams of black demonic chi roiled wildly and condensed into a terrifying demonic shadow. It let out a series of almost deranged roars. It suppressed the totem statue that was thousands of feet tall on the lake's surface. When the demonic shadow neared, Di Shitian's totem statue burst out with boundless divine light. The light was incomparably sacred and pure, filled with the beautiful wishes of all living beings. Strands of chi spread out in all directions and collided with the demonic shadow, creating a violent sound. The entire lake began to shake violently. It was as if the entire lake was going to be uprooted. Evil creature, go back. 8 trigrams Heavenly Melody Demon Sealing Formation. Heavenly Melody, rise. The moment the demon-subduing lake shook, 8 divine pillars rose from the edge of the lake, forming an 8 trigrams pattern. The heavenly melody was continuous and firmly sealed every strand of demonic chi. Coupled with the power of incense, the demonic chi in the lake was suppressed and could not break out. TSK, just you wait, you ants. My demon god clan is coming. In the future, when I am free, I will definitely slaughter everyone in the Qin family. I will capture all the women and make them female slaves. I will torture you day and night, imprisoning your souls in the 9 underworlds and never allowing you to ascend. At the bottom of the lake, a furious roar shot into the sky. And Di Shitian, how dare he suppress me and destroy my demonic soul? If I don't kill him, the hatred in my heart will not be appeased. The roars continued, and the demonic aura was vast and mighty. It continuously attacked the seal, but it was still firmly suppressed by Di Shitian's totem statue. The power of will gathered inside was so vast that it was unimaginable. In a short time, the news of the demon god's large-scale invasion reached the ears of many powerhouses. Many had already rushed to the demon realm. Kill. At this moment, in the exquisite pagoda under the suppression of the demon mountain, Di Shitian was still in the Wuji illusion. In the illusion, Di Shitian and the shadow both held the tiger soul in their hands. Their bodies emitted a fierce murderous aura as they fought fiercely. The tiger soul in their hands was fatal, and the beautiful arcs of light contained endless murderous intent. Their feet did not stop moving, and they all took strange steps to dodge, and even took the opportunity to slash out a fatal blow. It was the complete opposite of how it was before. At this moment, Di Shitian's every slash no longer had divine light that shook the void. Instead, it was extremely restrained. Vast and mighty power was contained in the blade, and it would only release endless divine light at the moment when it was about to kill. When he attacked, he was swift and decisive, and he had advanced to the realm of returning to his original state. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 602. First update received. Brothers, monthly tickets are in short supply. Summon monthly tickets. Lunatic DI, 3,000 times. You've already fallen 3,000 times at the hands of the shadow. Your control of your own strength and the fusion of your battle skills have reached a state of returning to the basics. Your strength is contained but not revealed, hidden but not released. Your grasp of battle opportunities has already broken through to another level. Your use of cultivation techniques and divine abilities has reached a level where it's as easy as waving your arms. Right now, you're more than 10 times stronger than before you entered the Wuji illusionary realm. You're already invincible among your peers. Now, you've reached the same level as the shadow. What you need to do now is to defeat it. Dark looked at Di Shitian, who was fighting fiercely with the shadow, and stroked his dragon whiskers, full of praise. 3,000 times. In the Wuji illusionary realm, Di Shitian had fallen 3,000 times at the hands of his own shadow. Every time he fell, it was an experience of being officially killed. Dying 3,000 times in a row was no different from walking 3,000 grooves in the reincarnation cycle. Every time he fell, the helplessness of falling into the darkness without any support would have driven any ordinary cultivator crazy on the spot. That was the most terrifying kind of torture, torment. If it wasn't for his unbelievably strong will and the Emperor Tyrant Heart Sutra in his mind that he was the supreme emperor and feared nothing, even his consciousness would have collapsed and he would have gone crazy on the spot. He would have sunk into madness and completely sunk into oblivion. Between life and death, there was great terror. To overcome such terror, one must have great perseverance. With life and death as the cauldron and the heart of the emperor as the furnace fire, one would be reborn from the fire. What one would obtain would be boundless perseverance, great courage, and unshakable obsession. I'm the real body, a mere shadow. Even if it has all my abilities and unparalleled battle strength, it doesn't have true wisdom. Watch how I defeat you. 3,000 deaths. It's time to return the favor by tempering my battle skills. Di Shitian's eyes shone brightly. The tiger soul in his hand swung out like lightning. Every strike was like the horn of an antelope, untraceable. Streaks of beautiful arcs of light formed naturally. Although he didn't use the unparalleled battle skills of the Emperor Dao and only used ordinary saber techniques, he had already entered the realm of Dao. It was simple yet contained boundless killing power. His footsteps did not stop for even a moment. The shadow had all of his battle skills, and each battle skill had already reached the pinnacle. Although it was also a battle saber, it was often impossible for a single killing move to reach its target. It would be blocked halfway. Di Shitian had no choice but to instantly change his saber techniques. It was the same when the shadow attacked. Often, Di Shitian would see through it the moment it made its move. Clang, clang. Countless saber lights were distributed throughout the entire Wuji illusory realm. They were densely packed and hundreds of millions of afterimages appeared. The lightning-fast saber technique caused the afterimages to be replaced by new afterimages before they could disappear. The shadow's combat skill was at its peak, but it could no longer kill Di Shitian so easily. It was almost a situation where they were evenly matched. Every time he died, he would try his best to absorb the reason for his death. He would discard all of his shortcomings, get rid of the dross, and extract the essence. Whether it was his divine ability or battle technique, he would reach the same height as the shadow. Emperor Dao of the Extreme Emperor, Death of the Gods and Demons. After Di Shitian collided with the shadow, he instantly retreated thousands of feet away due to the explosive force of the expansion. With a twist of his wrist, the countless gods and demons in the tiger soul roared with indignation. A boundless sense of sorrow instantly swept through the entire illusory realm, causing the space within the illusory realm to be filled with sorrow. If there were plants here, even the plants would mourn, and blood would rain down from the sky. In the tiger soul, boundless gods and demons gathered instantly. The saber vibrated, and the surrounding space was annihilated inch by inch. The dazzling saber light instantly burst out thousands of feet. It was so condensed that it was solid. The saber naturally slashed toward the shadow. In the saber, there seemed to be boundless power that could annihilate heaven and earth. The saber light was as fast as lightning. Moreover, the saber directly blocked all the escape routes of the shadow. A deep divine light flashed in the shadow's eyes. His body shook, and the 36 Dharma forms behind him roared and rushed out. Boundless Dharma power was applied to him. Crack! The heavenly punishment divine eye opened between his eyebrows. The Dharma power poured into the divine eye, causing the divine light flowing in the divine eye to become even more dazzling. A divine light shot out from the divine eye. After the purple divine light burst out, it instantly split into 4 terrifying beams of light. They condensed into 4 divine feathers. Heavenly punishment divine eye, 5-colored divine light. The 5-colored divine lights were missing one part, so they were not perfect. However, at this moment, With the power of Dharma Laksana, the power contained in the divine lights reached an unbelievable level. Every beam of divine light weighed more than 10 million katis, and they could sink the earth and shake the stars. The domineering origin of the 5 elements flowed in the divine feathers. One of the 5 elements was missing. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Ding dong. However, the shadow released the 7 sins demonic zither in an instant. The earthy yellow earth spiritual pearl embedded in the zither suddenly burst out a pure divine light and rushed into the divine eye. Boom boom. With the support of the earth spiritual pearl, the origin of the earth in the 5 elements plate of the divine eye was temporarily complete. Another beam of divine light separated and turned into an earthy yellow divine feather. 5-colored divine light, complete. The complete divine light had the 5 elements circulating endlessly. It instantly increased the power of the divine light to an incredible level. One of the crimson divine feathers moved suddenly and swept toward the tiger soul. Wherever it passed, the void was completely distorted and collapsed. Countless domineering flames swallowed everything. It collided head-on with the tiger soul. The other 4 beams of divine light formed a fan shape and swept toward Di Shitian one after another. Wherever the divine light passed, the entire world turned into chaos. Countless elements of earth, fire, water, and wind appeared crazily. Anything that came under the divine light would be crushed into dust. You came at the right time. Even if your shadow's battle power is unparalleled, you still don't have intelligence. You only have battle instincts. You fell for my trick in the end. Di Shitian saw how the shadow actually made the 5-colored divine light reach its complete state. He even used the Dharma power to instantly increase the power of the 5-colored divine light to an immeasurable level. At this moment, the peak of the demon king's cultivation was enough to kill a demon saint and threaten a heaven demon. However, the crimson divine light that went toward the tiger soul suppressed the tiger soul and easily defeated the saber light on the tiger soul. It was so relaxed that it was a little strange. Di Shitian, on the other hand, looked calm. The tiger soul divine light in his hand was withdrawn. The godfiend morning just now was just a feint to lure out the shadow's most powerful attack. Huang Quan's protection. When Di Shitian saw the 5-colored divine light rolling toward him, divine light flashed between his brows. At the same time, the divine eye of heaven's punishment quickly opened. The moment it opened, a long, rolling river roared out from the divine eye and condensed into a dark green divine dragon. It coiled up and protected Di Shitian. The dragon head raised to the sky and let out a domineering dragon roar. It directly extracted the holy river of Huang Quan that was nurtured in the nether prison and turned it into the nether dragon's protection. Virtual illusory land. A beam of light flashed behind Indra as a complete scroll appeared above his head. When it was unfurled, the slender scroll unfurled. Within the scroll, there were countless images floating about, as though it was a dream. There were old farmers farming, birds flying in the sky, wealth and ordinary people, gold and jade filled the building, beautiful people in books, and many carriages and horses. The high and mighty emperor, the ant-like commoners, and all kinds of living beings appeared in the scroll. It really looked like there was another vivid world in the painting. Domain, virtual illusory land. In the virtual illusory land, billions of divine light shot out. The endless power of desire appeared in the void, as if there was another world in the scroll. This was the second defense. 7 sins demonic zither. Earth spirit protection, wood spirit protection, dark heaven creation, protect my body. The 7 sins demonic zither appeared above his head, and 2 divine lights descended. One blocked outside his body, and the other merged into his body. Then, billions of gentle divine lights descended from the zither. Ultimate Emperor Emperor Seal, Celestial Demon Seal, Emperor Seal, Doutai Seal, Blissful Seal, suppress the 4 extremes, for ancient seals hung in the 4 directions. In the 4 symbols formation, they completely isolated the void outside Di Shitian, turning into another independent world. 4 layers of defense, and attack. It was completed in an instant. As long as I block this attack, The power of the shadow Dharma form will be exhausted. Before I die, I won't be able to use it again. But I still have the power of the Dharma form and the divine eye of heavenly punishment. I don't believe that I can't suppress you with countless means. Di Shitian's fighting spirit burst out like a storm. The aura of an emperor surged from his body, as if he was the only one in the world. Crazy Di, I'm here to help you. Boundless nether prison. When Dark saw this, he shouted excitedly. With a sway of his dragon body, another world appeared outside Sakra's body with a loud bang. It directly showed the 19 layers of nether prison in the divine eye of heavenly punishment. In the nether prison, there were countless figures struggling with divine souls. Countless prison guards were walking. The whole nether prison suddenly turned into an imperial robe, draped over Di Shitian's body. On the imperial robe, countless ghosts and gods wept, exuding a kind of peerless ferocity. Countless prison guards appeared on the robe. For a moment, he was like a peerless nether emperor. All of this was completed in an instant. At the moment it was completed, the 5-colored divine light descended. The 5-colored divine light was complete, and the 5 elements circulated endlessly. Each divine light was terrifyingly heavy. First, the reddish-gold divine light fell and collided with the 4 ancient seals. The ancient seals were connected by the 4 symbols formation. This collision immediately brought them into a stalemate and violently shook. Countless gods, demons, Buddhas, emperors, and Daotais emerged. They competed with the divine light. The surrounding void was annihilated. Rumble. After a moment of stalemate, the reddish-gold divine light gradually dimmed, and the 4 ancient seals exploded and blasted on the divine light, making it dim on the spot. Even if the 5 elements were connected, it still couldn't stop it. At the cost of the divine light being weakened to 30%, the first defense was broken. The 5 elements alternated, and the second green divine light fell and collided with the virtual illusory realm. Although the virtual illusory realm was formed by the domain, it was not part of the 5 elements and was full of the power of desire. However, it couldn't stop the peerless divine ability with the power of Dharma Laksana. After a stalemate, it was also broken, but at the same time, it also consumed more than half of the power in the divine light. However, Di Shitian didn't intend to completely block the 5-colored divine light with them. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 603. 600 chapters. Begging for monthly votes. Continue with the 3rd chapter. Consumption. These layers of defense were meant to continuously deplete the power contained in the 5-colored divine light. Deplete it to the point where it could be countered. At that time, even if he used his strongest attack, the 5-colored divine light would be destroyed on the spot. Naturally, he would be able to completely neutralize the shadow's superpower. Once it was neutralized, it would be his turn to gain the upper hand. Bang! 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 The 5-colored divine light alternated. It collided with the defense that Di Shitian had set up outside. The virtual illusory land, the Earth Spiritual Pearls defense, and the Hell Dragon that Huang Quan had transformed into were all destroyed. However, at the same time, more than half of the power of the 5-colored divine light was destroyed. Looking at the 5-colored divine light again, although it was still there, the divine light on its surface had become extremely dim. Even so, the surrounding space was still being destroyed by the divine light. Dharma power, appear. Sakra was clad in the Underworld Emperor's robe. With a shake of his body, 36 mystical avatars appeared behind him in the blink of an eye. The avatars let out a series of roars that shook the void. Vast amounts of avatars were channeled into their bodies. Boom! Boom! The void outside his body shook violently. Di Shitian's entire body instantly expanded wildly. 100 feet, 1,000 feet. In an instant, he had expanded to 3,000 feet. His eyes were as deep as the sun and the moon. Divine light surrounded him. Looking at the 5-colored divine light, He waved the tiger soul in his hand. Extreme Emperor Way, Celestial Demon Morning. The blade contained endless celestial demon power, and a mystical black tiger was entrenched on it. Instantly, it slashed at the five-colored divine light. Vast and mighty power poured out. The five-colored divine light was just the tip of a powerful bow. How could it block the tiger soul's sharpness? With one slash, it was reduced to dust and completely collapsed. Extreme Emperor Wei, Devourer of the Dao Tai. Di Shitian blasted the five-colored divine light away. Instantly, his hand changed from Celestial Demon Morning to Devourer of the Dao Tai. Instantly, a huge Dao Tai formed above the tiger soul. The terrifying head that was much larger than its body looked ferocious. Dao Tai, merge with this sovereign, Di Shitian roared. The Dao Tai that was hovering above his head suddenly descended, colliding with his demonic body. The mystical thing was that the Dao Tai seemed to be illusory, and it strangely fused together with the demonic body, as though it was possessed by the Dao Tai. Devouring shadow body. Di Shitian fused with the Dao Tai and instantly obtained the innate ability of the Dao Tai. Opening his entire mouth transformed into a terrifying black hole. The devouring power instantly shrouded the entire Wuji dreamland. The shadow was the first to bear the brunt of the devouring power. It directly swallowed the shadow into its stomach. Divine ability, great stomach capacity. Di Shitian roared. The talent he had gained after practicing the Book of the Royal Extreme Shocking World began to cast. His entire stomach turned into a giant swamp. He trapped the shadow in his stomach and used his power to refine the shadow. Especially when the Dao Tai fused with his body, this kind of divine ability was strengthened by 100 times in an instant. Shadow, my battle skills, divine abilities, and even my own strength have all been refined into one. I have returned to my original state. When I fight with you, I will be able to defeat you. You have served your purpose. In that case, give me all your strength and fuse with me again. Although you have battle instincts, you do not have the most important intelligence. Watch as this sovereign refine you. Demon refining cauldron. Indra's expression was cold. After the shadow was swallowed into his stomach, it was currently frenziedly attacking, wanting to rip his stomach apart. However, the Great Belly Fusion innate technique unleashed a shocking might at this moment. His entire stomach seemed to have transformed into another independent world. Also, it was incomparably tough. All attacks that blasted into it would actually dissipate in an instant after they were swallowed up. Boom boom boom. In the demon residence, a 7th-grade black lotus flew out of the cauldron. Then, the demon refining cauldron that had been suppressing the center of the demon residence turned into a stream of light and rushed out of the demon residence, rushing into the stomach. The demon refining cauldron had always existed with the demon residence. As Di Shitian's strength grew, so did it. It could refine everything in the world and devour boundless vitality, refining it into the purest energy. Its divine ability seemed gentle, but it was extremely domineering. It was because of it that Di Shitian's cultivation speed could reach such a level. Moreover, his true force was unbelievably pure. Using the demon refining cauldron, he wanted to completely refine the shadow. Boom boom boom. In his body, the entire stomach turned into a terrifying space. It was like a swamp. The shadow stood in it, waving his saber with a cold expression. He wanted to blast this space open, but when the saber light landed on his stomach, it was strangely devoured. Suddenly, a large cauldron that looked like white jade fell from the sky. With a bang, it covered the shadow. Boom. The lid of the cauldron came crashing down with lightning speed, covering the demon refining cauldron. Celestial Demon Seal, Emperor Seal, Bliss Seal, Dao Tai Seal, Suppress. At this moment, Di Shitian was invincible. With the support of the Dharma power, his combat strength instantly leaped above the shadow. Now that he had swallowed the shadow into his stomach and occupied the home ground, there was no reason for him not to pursue an attack. The 4 ancient seals immediately suppressed the demon refining cauldron. The cauldron rumbled continuously, and the shadow madly attacked the cauldron. Unfortunately, The shadow was weakened and the shadow was strengthened. It could not break open the cauldron at all. Divine eye of punishment, divine flame of punishment. With a roar, a purple-gold divine flame appeared under the demon refining cauldron. It emitted an endless amount of divine power. In an instant, the jade cauldron began to spin. The cloud patterns on the cauldron emitted a mysterious aura. Boom, boom, boom. The demon refining cauldron was pushed to its limit, erupting with endless power. Instantly, as the cauldron spun, streams of pure royal true power were thrown out of the cauldron. Di Shitian wanted to refine the shadow like a spiritual medicine. Royal true power, return to the Black Lotus, attack the demon vein, condense the true aperture. Di Shitian immediately moved the royal true power from the cauldron into the demon abode, sending it into the grade 7 Black Lotus. The Black Lotus spun 9 times, completely merging the true power with his body, turning it into his own strength. Then, from the Black Lotus, a vast amount of royal true power gushed out, rushing toward the 6th demon vein, the listening demon vein. He was cultivating the 6th volume of the Royal Book of Shocking the World. It was the 6th demonic meridian in the body. The previous 5 were the demonic meridian of sorrow, the demonic meridian of joy, the demonic meridian of rage, the demonic meridian of taste, the demonic meridian of sight, and the current 6th demonic meridian of hearing. Moreover, after completing his cultivation, the taste demon vein gave birth to the remarkable ability big stomach capacity. The sight demon vein gave birth to the clairvoyance. If this 6th volume was completed, the listening demon vein would give birth to the remarkable ability clairvoyance. The boundless royal true power rushed towards the 6th demonic vein at high speed. Moreover, in the demon refining cauldron, vigorous true power was continuously refined. Di Shitian's strength seemed to be increasing all the time. Hihi, you can do it. Lunatic Di, the power obtained from refining the shadow is enough to allow you to break through to the 7th transformation demon core, breaking the boundary between Demon King and Great Demon. Dark squealed happily, as expected of an emperor with great perseverance and great comprehension. In the depths of the Wuji mirage, Ziyu witnessed Di Shitian's action of swallowing the shadow. A strange light flickered in her eyes, and a hint of surprise appeared. Di Shitian was able to raise his battle strength to the same level as the shadow after falling 3,000 times. This level of comprehension is comparable to a peerless genius. Moreover, the cultivation technique he's cultivating is not one of the ones I left behind. The cultivation technique contains the power of desire. The power cultivated is incomparably pure. It can also give birth to remarkable abilities. Since ancient times, there have only been a few such cultivation techniques. Once cultivated, no one in the world can cultivate it again. It's a unique existence. Could it be that he has entered a divine tomb? Or did he create it himself? Although she could see most of Di Shitian's remarkable abilities and power at a glance, she did not understand the royal shocking book that he cultivated. If she had not witnessed the battle between him and the shadow before, and the power of desire that burst out from each other, she would not have known that his cultivation technique contained the power of desire. She only thought that he cultivated the pure way of the emperor. Her birth was incomparably noble. Her knowledge was even broader than that of a peerless expert. However, she could not see through Di Shitian's cultivation technique at a glance. What did this mean? It meant that this cultivation technique was definitely beyond her imagination. Surpassing the heaven stage. A heaven stage cultivation technique was a cultivation technique that only a peerless expert could possess. Surpassing the heaven stage was simply above the heavens, immortal and eternal. Only a peerless expert could cultivate it. In the world, there were only a handful of such expert. If it was the former, then it would be fine. But if it was the latter, then even Ziyue could not imagine how terrifying that would be. She fixed her gaze on Di Shitian, a strange light flashing in her eyes. Fine. I'd like to see how far you can go, Ziyue said calmly. She did not care much about what Di Shitian cultivated. Even if it was a cultivation technique surpassing the heaven stage, even if she knew, no one else would be able to cultivate it. Di Shitian stood in the everlasting illusion for a full 3 months. Rumble. Suddenly, in the everlasting dreamland, a pitch-black tribulation cloud suddenly appeared. Moreover, in the blink of an eye, it covered the entire dreamland. It was dark and oppressive, emitting a vast aura. Endless pressure spread out and pressed down on Sakura, who was below. Countless purple lightning shuttled back and forth in the clouds intensely. Demonic tribulation of the 7 nines? He actually attracted the heavenly lightning of the purple firmament. This is tribulation lightning that might not even appear in the 9x9 demonic tribulation. He actually attracted it. Ziyue frowned. However, she did not stop it. Heavenly tribulation was a tribulation, but it was also good fortune. Demonic cultivators faced many tribulations, but they were far stronger than other cultivators of the same level. After this tribulation, he'll reach the 7th cycle. What Ziyue did not know was that Di Shitian was facing a double tribulation. The outside tribulation could only be withstood with his physical body, but the inside tribulation required supreme willpower. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 604. I'm almost at 2 million words. I'm begging for votes. Innate purple jade, 10,000 years steel essence, longevity wood essence, stellar gold. My goodness, this is indeed the last collection of the demon race. The treasures they left behind for their descendants are really rich. Every single one of them is a rare treasure. These are really the treasures left behind by the ancient demon race. Dark looked around and saw the treasures on the shelves. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Treasures. These were the last treasures of the ancient demon clan. One could imagine how precious they were. Everything that could be placed in the Linglong treasure house was 1 in 10,000 treasures. Many of the materials could only be found in the ancient era. The ones that could be found now were extremely rare. Patter. Di Shitian walked past most of the treasures. Although these treasures were precious, they were not all in the exquisite treasure vault. The real treasures were the medicinal pills and spiritual essences. Just as Ziyue said, this treasury is enough to nurture an ancient demon god, a peerless expert. The pills and spirit essences contained in here are definitely more than what you would find in an ordinary place. Let me see what kind of medicinal pills there are. Di Shitian was very curious. Moreover, these 2 things were far more precious than the others. Medicinal pills could increase one's cultivation. With the living soil of the 9 heavens, any spiritual essence could grow and grow at an incomparably fast speed. The effects were even purer. In the 1,000 demon cities jade pool, there were the peach garden, 100 herb garden, and 100 flower garden. The peach garden planted all kinds of peach trees, while the 100 herb garden planted all kinds of spiritual essences. It was managed by Susu. In the jade pool, she was already known as the 100 herb fairy. The 100 herb garden planted all kinds of strange flowers. Spirit essence was a good thing. In his hands, spirit essence could be regenerated into spirit essence. It was endless and inexhaustible. Compared to the precious materials, he valued the precious spiritual essences more. Some of them had gone extinct in the ancient era and had been harvested to the last. Perhaps, there might be some in the vault. TSK, look. That's a blood lotus seed. That's a heaven-tier spirit item that only exists in the nether blood sea. It's a treasure that grows in the blood sea. It still has life energy. If you plant it in the jade lake, it'll grow into a blood lotus. That jade pool of yours was formed by refining flesh and blood. The best place for it to grow. In the future, when the blood lotus grows and produces lotus seeds, eating one will give you endless benefits. On the shelf where the spirit essence was placed, there was a jade box in which there was a blood-colored lotus seed with countless mysterious Tao patterns. The lotus seed naturally exuded the charm of the great Tao. After swallowing it, It could help a cultivator comprehend the heavenly Tao and increase their cultivation level. It could also transform them into blood gods. It was incomparably miraculous. Good stuff. I remember that there is a blood lotus wine in the wine god's treasure book. The main ingredient is this blood lotus seed. When Di Shitian saw this, he nodded to himself and put it away. He was going to send it into the jade pool later and plant it. This is an azura flower. Legend has it that it's a spiritual essence that can only grow if it's watered with the essence blood of the azura tribe. What is this? It's the Tao Comprehension Immortal Tea. This was a saint-grade item that could help an unparalleled expert comprehend the great Tao and break through to the next realm. Treasure. This is truly a treasure trove. Along the way, just the items in the first layer of the treasure trove made Ming exclaim in surprise. He was completely shocked by the treasures in the treasure trove. These spirit essences were well preserved, and the life force within them had yet to dissipate. He didn't hesitate to put them away. When he returned to the fifth heaven, he would go to Spider Lily Island to look for the living soil of the 9 heavens and use it to cultivate these spirit essences. It would increase the wealth of Demon City. Ming, release your divine sense and search this level of the treasure trove. See if there are any of the 5 godstones. Di Shitian's eyes were like lightning as he quickly scanned through the countless treasures. He directly skipped over the spirit essences in front of him. He began to search to see if he could find any of the 5 godstones. Hee, watch me. Ming didn't refuse. A powerful divine sense emerged from his body and quickly scanned the huge treasure trove. Everywhere it passed, the treasures in the treasure trove were imprinted in his mind. He didn't know how many treasures he had scanned in just a moment. Although there are many treasures in the first layer of the treasure trove, there aren't any of the 5 godstones. There are 3 layers of the treasure trove. Besides this one, there are 2 more layers. According to the usual practice, the higher the layer, the more precious the treasures there are. Maybe we can find them up there. Ming retracted his divine sense and said with some regret. Okay. Although he was here to take over the treasure trove, his real purpose was to see if he could find the 5 godstones that the Heaven Gate needed. He could put everything else aside for the time being. After obtaining the treasure trove, he immediately turned his attention to the second layer and walked up the stairs at the edge. The space in the treasure trove had the ability to store a mustard seed. It didn't look big from the outside, but inside, it was like the Bohai Sea. When he entered the 4th heaven, he saw the same decorations as before. However, the glow of treasures was 10 times stronger than what he had seen before. Furthermore, there weren't many items on display, but each and every one of them was a priceless treasure. Crazy DI, look, take 19 steps forward and turn left. The first jade box has a rich cloud aura inside. I know this aura. It's the smell of the Heaven Cloud Soul Essence. The moment he entered the second layer, Ming suddenly became excited and hurriedly shouted. Heaven Cloud Soul Essence. It's the main material for refining the cloud-gathering banner. When Di Shitian heard this, he quickly walked to the designated location without hesitation. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived at his destination. He looked over. His eyes suddenly lit up. Heaven Cloud Soul Essence, you can't see a single piece normally, but there are as many as 3 here. It's a rare treasure that can only be obtained after the fall of a heaven cloud beast that is at least 1,000,000 years old. Di Shitian looked at the jade box. In the box, there were 3 hexagonal crystals, which were filled with clouds and mist. In the crystals, there was a strange little beast breathing in clouds. The crystals were like crystals, but they were beautiful. They were so gorgeous that any woman who saw them would fall in love with them. He put them in his bag. What a rich cloud aura. Just one is enough to refine a cloud-gathering banner. It can hold up the 1,000 demon city. There are indeed treasures here. Quick, see if there are any more of the 5 sacred stones. Ming's eyes lit up. Seeing these rare treasures, he was also very excited. He hurriedly scanned the entire treasury with his divine sense. In just an instant, he shouted again, quick, 30 steps to the right and turn left. There's the 3rd jade box. The thing inside can actually block my divine sense. It might be one of the 5 sacred stones. The 5 sacred stones had the same characteristic, which was that they could not be detected with divine sense. Sometimes, sacred objects would conceal themselves and restrain their divine light, just like ordinary objects. If one wanted to find it, they would have to rely entirely on luck and luck. It was because the sacred stones were hard to find. Although Di Shitian came to the treasury, he did not think that he would be able to find them here. Ming's words were a pleasant surprise. I hope it's one of the 5 sacred stones. He quickly put away the heaven cloud soul essence and rushed in the direction that Ming pointed. In a flash, he arrived and looked over. Immortal stone. The first thing that entered his eyes was the label at the bottom of the jade box. There were 4 ancient demon characters written on it, Immortal Stone. It's indeed one of the 5 sacred stones. The Immortal Stone can make the gate of heaven immortal and difficult to damage. Even if it is damaged, it can quickly recover. He could not help but feel ecstatic. He hurriedly reached out and opened the treasure box. The moment he opened it, it did not emit any divine light like the other rare treasures. However, there was a simple and ancient aura to it. The stone was not big, only the size of a fist. It was also hexagonal, but there was no treasure light. However, there was a faint eternal charm on this stone. Even time could not stay on it. There are a total of 6 immortal stones. Now, there can be one on the gate of heaven. This exquisite treasure house really didn't disappoint me. Sakura took a deep breath and forcefully suppressed the excitement in his heart. Now that he had obtained the sealing stone on the 1,000 Demon City's gate of heaven, plus the immortal stone in front of him, it could definitely increase the ancient city's defense in an instant. The 4 gates of heaven replaced the city walls. The gates of heaven were immortal and indestructible, which meant that the ancient city could also withstand terrifying attacks and not be damaged. Good stuff. This treasury is really the wealth accumulated by the demon clan for countless years. Lunatic Di, hurry up to the 3rd level. I can probably guess what is stored in the 3rd level of the treasury. It must be an elixir, and to nurture an ancient demon god. If I'm not wrong, it must be the most famous elixir in ancient times. Ming seemed to have thought of something, and his entire spirit suddenly became excited. He hurriedly shouted, if it's really as I guessed, Lunatic Di, you're really going to be rich. What elixir are you guessing? Sakura put the eternal stone away in passing, and he couldn't help but feel curious because it wasn't common for something to be able to make Ming so excited. Even if it was an elixir, it must be extraordinary. However, as he asked, he still walked up to the 3rd level without stopping. TSK, Lunatic Di, you know, in ancient times, there were no heavenly realms, demon realms, or even the myriad realms surrounding the void in this origin world. At that time, the heaven and earth yuan qi on the origin continent was almost unimaginably rich. Moreover, the heaven and earth yuan qi at that time evolved from the qi of chaos into carnate yuan qi. Therefore, at that time, the entire continent gave birth to countless tyrannical races and a large number of carnate great gods. When they breathed, they swallowed carnate yuan qi, so it was not difficult for them not to be strong. Peerless geniuses were endless. Experts were like carps crossing the river. Like the stars in the sky. There was no lack of yearning in Ming's voice. How I wish I could have been born in ancient times. Di Shitian nodded and said without hesitation. Ancient times, that was the era of the strong. Unfortunately, those great gods opened up their own worlds after cultivating, thinning out the origin continent's yuan qi. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.